Will you be back alongside him next season?
We will be back, yeah. I don't know if I'll be doing a full one, but we will probably be back in a Mark III. That's the plan.
So the aim might be to go for the overall title next year?
Maybe next year. After we'll have a crack in a Mark III, yeah.
All right, well, all the best for that. We look forward to seeing you back out next season. Ian, Josh, let's go back up to you, because coming up next, it is our headline race for the day, and it is the championship decider for the Tequila Club Endurance Championship.
Thank you very much indeed, Chris. So the final round of the 2022 Tequila ClubEnduro Championship coming up next. It is a decider. We'll tell you about what needs to happen in terms of the championship in just a moment. But first, let's rattle through the grid, because the car's already on their rolling lap. So on pole position, it's going to be the number 49 car, which is that of William Stacey, who drives solo in the Lotus Elite. Besides him, on the front row of the grid is going to be the BMW M3, which is going to be started by Matthew Hampson, so that's going to be car number 69. On the second row, on the inside, that's going to be number 15, that's the Seat Leon, that's going to be started by Colin Gillespie, and then beside him is going to be number 177, and that is Aldo Ritty, who's starting the BMW M3 CSL, that's the car driven also by Kevin Clark. The third row on the inside is going to be number 26, that's the Invitation class car of Bruno Costa, the Volkswagen Golf TCR, and alongside him on the grid, which you can now see on screen as well, is the number 179 car, that's the BMW 36 M3 of Dave Gooding. On to row 4, you've got 117, that's Martin Gadsby, he's starting the BMW Compact, and number 14, Chris Freeman, drives solo. On the fifth row, further back than we normally see them, number 1, that's Carl Swift starting the championship leading Seat Leon TCR, and number 51 is the Class B champion, Luke Hampley. On the inside of row 6, that's number 8, Chris Webster starting in the Ginetta G40, and number 13, that's going to be started by Matt Fahy, that's the Porsche Cayman. On to row 7 of the grid, you've got number 5, Jonathan Packer, another solo driver, and 22 is going to be started by Luke Browse, that's the BMW. Row 8, 27 is started by Mark Price, I should say, the Seat Leon TCR, and 46, Matty Taylor in the Holden Commodore. Row 9 is number 12, Scott Parkin, going solo in the Volkswagen Golf, and 92, that is Andrew Ratt starting the Leon. Then on row 10, it will be on the inside the number 2 car of Ben Rushworth and James Ramsden. Ben Rushworth starting the race, and 43 Steve Cheetham going alone in number 43. Row 11 is 67 Julia McBride, and 53, that's the Porsche car being started by Daniel Son, I'll come to that in a minute. Row 12 is number 99, that's Joe Williams in the Golf, and 188 Graham Kelly in the BMW. On row 13, it is going to be the 144 car of Sarah Hobson, the Toyota Celica, and number 3 Nick Dougal, starting the Mazda MX-5. Row 14 is the 97 Mazda MX-5 started by David Connell, and number 18 the car owned by Porsche, driven by Joseph Martin in the first part of the race. Row 15 has number 10, that's Rob Fennick in the Lotus Elise, and 76 Michael Downey in the Porsche. Row 16 is 122, that's Wayne Cochran in another Celica. 66, that's the car started by Paul Subiani, BMW G180i. Row 17 is 481, Edward Christie in the BMW E36 M3. And number 90, Matthew Tipping in the BMW 325i. And number 95 at the back of the field is James Merrill starting on the Mazda MX-5. Championship-wise, the car's already well on the way towards the grid. It is between the car you can just see on screen there now, the number 1 car of Carl Swift and Rob Baker. They've already secured the Class A Championship, and the number 53 BMW of Dan Orsano and Joe Oswick, that's the car just going through drift now on the screen for live stream. They have very similar records, and if they win with fastest lap, Oswick and Orsano within their class, they will take the championship no matter what Swift and Baker can do. But there is also a way that can finish level on points as well. So we'll go for all the permutations for you as the race develops, but the cars coming up towards the line, the safety car, or the pace car as it would have been on the rolling map, has pulled in, and the red lights are on. Are they going to go out, and is the race going to get underway? Yes, they do. The lights go out and we are off and running here. It's a good start there by the 69 BMW for the moment, but it isn't the first corner. Will Stacey that leads in the blue Lotus. It's a fairly raggedy old rolling start here, fairly spread out order as they come through, but it is Stacey leading, Matthew Hampson in second. In third place at the minute is the number 15 car of Colin Gillespie, and fourth at the moment is the number 26 Golf TCR of Bruno Costa as they make their way out of Cascade down towards Island Bend for the first time. It's a 125-minute race. There's mandatory pit stops. We'll talk to you about those as well in just a moment. And we've also got success penalties to explain as well, so quite a bit to get you up to speed on as this race gets underway, Josh.
Will Stacey's driving away, and it's side by side for second, and Gillespie goes through ahead of Hampson, and Costa's going to try and follow him, and he manages round the outside. Costa in the Golf goes ahead. The Cole Smith car's up to about 6th already, so he's gained a couple of places from that dry-in qualifying session where Will Stacey was 2.5 seconds faster than the rest. But different conditions now. Hampson's losing places, hands over 5th. Reedy, Swift and Freeman have all gone round the outside of him. We led for half a straight, but now he's being passed by the more experienced racers around him. But it's a bit of a mixed up grid. For the first few laps of this is pretty busy already, but Will Stacey, he knows he needs to try and pull away early on while Cole Swift is coming through the traffic. Hampson's car, was it smoking? Not sure all is well with that car. The car, a big moment here. Well, that Rushworth possibly got massively sideways, or Beach, one or the other, or Grice as it is now. One of them PCR Sayers got hugely sideways under the braking through Druitt, but they saved it, thankfully. Otherwise, that would have been a bit nasty, I think. And the Hampton, the car's carrying on, so hopefully that's was all okay. Obviously, lots of fuel in the cars at the moment, so it may have just been that behind them. So this is side by side for the Class B lead. That was the Porsche going through, so that was Matt Fazy getting ahead of Luke Handley, the champion in Class B, to take the lead of that one. And Rushworth up over the curbs there through down the avenue. He got alongside the Browns BMW. He's actually lost a place there, hasn't he, to Mark Price. As I expected him, this is very busy on the first couple of laps.
It is indeed. So the leader is number 49 William Stacey. In second place is number 15 Colin Gillespie. In third place is number 26 Bruno Costa. In fourth place Will 77 Aldo Ritty. 1 and 2 cars getting out of shape there through Ireland. Fifth is number 1. That's the Swift and Baker car. As we have got Kevin Clark's car now having been passed. That's been driven by Ritty at the moment, but that's now been passed by Carl Swift, so he goes up to 4th position. And of course that's one of the cars that's in contention for the championship title. There's Rushworth, and that's David Gooding, isn't it, getting together as well in the yellow BMW. That's also one of the cars eligible for the Clubman Championship as well. We need to talk about that as well, lots to tell you about. Let's mention pit stops though. They have 30 minutes is when you can make your mandatory pit stop. After 30 minutes and before the last 15 minutes of the race, it has to be of a minimum of 3 minutes in length. And you also, if you've been successful in previous races, have to serve an extra penalty as well. So the drivers in this race that have extra time serving their pit stops are Carl Swift and Rob Baker, 30 seconds, James Ramsden and Ben Rushworth, 20 seconds. There's 20 seconds for Scott Parkin, there's 10 seconds for Colin Gillespie and Phil Driver, 10 seconds for Luke Handley, 30 seconds for Joel Oswick and Dan Orsano, and 10 seconds for Johnny Hayes and Paul Sabiani. Meanwhile, Josh, all action into Logical Corner.
Yeah, Ben Rushworth has been flying on the first 2 laps. He started 19th, but I think he's into the top 10 now. He's with Hampton. His car keeps smoking every now and again, so something's not right with that. But Rushworth's going to have a go here to get through. How many cars are in this battle? There's about a dozen of them, but Rushworth goes through. He's 7th now, from 19th on the grid. He's overtaken 12 cars in 2 laps.
Yeah, that's a great performance from him. I think there were some issues with that car in qualifying. With Hamilton as well, it's worth mentioning that Andy Schultz is the driver that set the lap time for that car that put it towards the front of the grid in qualifying. He'll be the quicker driver if and when, given some potential issues with that car, he gets into it for the second part of the race. So we're still only 2 and a bit laps into it.
There's our Class B leader, just going through the Porsche Cayman of Matt Fazy. and he leads that class. So we've got quite a few A cars now between himself and Scott Parkin, who's also got past Luke Handley, who hasn't had a good start to this race. Handley started 10th, he's now 60.
And there is the Martin Gadsby BMW Compact as well. He shares with Ian Jones, so that is in 9th position. Wasn't the start of the lap, but look how busy this thing is. There's the Oulton Commodore, number 46 as well. That's being driven by Matty Taylor, the Army Motorsport car, as down towards Islopsko. A whole buzz. There must be 15 cars or so queuing up behind Gadsby in 9th position at the moment.
Yeah, well, Gadsby's got past Hampton. He's the cork in the bottle here. So now Gadsby's pulled away and quite well in that home-built compact. Versus pretty rapid, and he shares that with Ian Jones. There's the smoke. You can only go through left-handers, I think, for Hampton. Stacey, by the way, leads now from a battle for second that just came across the line between Colin Gillespie and Bruno Costa, the sometime Monoposto racer, making his ClubEnduro debut. Ian in the pit lane.
Yeah, Swift and Baker. I thought they just dropped down the timer screen, so this isn't a mandatory stop for Carl Swift and Rob Baker. Carl Swift is in the car at the moment.
This guy had a gearbox failure yesterday, so they put a new gearbox in overnight, and maybe that's a problem.
Yeah, so Carl Swift turns in right beneath our commentary position here, so we can't see it. Hopefully we'll get the our roving camera down there to find out what's going on with all of that in the pit lane, but it's a drop from the 4th position it was in back down the order.
It's probably gone in the garage.
Okay, so we'll see what happens there. It's
Luke Handley's losing more positions. Look at he wrapped up the Class B Championship last time out. He's losing positions.
Not going well for LA Motorsport, is it? So what we should explain in terms of the championship as well is that Joel Osbick and Dan Osano, if they win this race with fastest lap in their class, they will be the overall champions, whatever happens with Swift and Baker. So it's kind of out of Swift and Baker's hands in any case.
Change for second here, Ian, because Bruno Costa in the Golf has got past Colin Gillespie's Seat Leon, although that Golf is in the invitational class at the moment. Both those cars run by the same team though, but Bruno Costa on his touring car debut here, going really well, the Brazilian racer, getting past the Scotsman Colin Gillespie. Just going through there, Chris Freeman is making his debut in this Seat. He raced a Class B Golf and a Civic before that. Nice Bushworth. He's on the limit, isn't he? The car's up over the curbs, and so he's 6th now. He's got quite a big gap to catch to the cars in front, so that's one to watch. But if he knows the Baker Swift car's out of this, there's a real opportunity here for, well, so many other drivers, because the only other car to win this year has been Will Stacey, who was the leader, but did he come through?
Well, I didn't see him there. He's not come through. I don't know if that's a transponder issue.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, he's back there. Brief moments of panic in the commentary. It's a 1:49.98. It was just too fast, clearly, for the timekeepers. That's still half a second outside of the lap record, though, set a couple of years ago. There's Luke Browse going up the inside of Matt Fazy, and that is, I think, for 8th position. In fact, that will be, yes, 8th place. That will be within the overall position. Let's head down to the pit lane. Chris Stevens is there.
Well, big development down here in the pit lane. The number 1 area motorsport car that was fighting for the championship has come into the pits very early on. Carl, you were in the car. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, we've had gearbox issues all weekend, so Friday in testing, it kept coming out of 4th gear. It wouldn't let us go past 4th and then going into limp mode. So we took it apart and repaired it yesterday. The repair we did didn't fix it. It wasn't what we thought. So we put a spare gearbox in, which has come from another team. It's a bit of an unknown. It's been rebuilt, but it's from a team abroad, I think, and then that one's just failed. No noises or anything, it just doesn't want to go through the gears. It's getting to 4th, then putting back to 3rd, and then pulling neutral and all over the place. But great 3 laps before that. Great 3 laps.
You were telling me earlier you had clutch issues during qualifying, and that's why you were a bit out of position. So this is unrelated to those problems you had earlier.
I mean, it's all in the same area, gearbox and clutch, because the clutches are built into the gearbox on these. So it's all the same area, but it's a different issue this time.
Obviously, that brings an end to your overall title hopes potentially.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing we could do anyway. It was always down to what the Class C guys did. So we were out there for fun. Our result made no difference to the outcome whatsoever. So we've just got to sit from the pits and watch how it unfolds now. But the Class A's done. We've won the Class A championship, so that's brilliant anyway.
And will you be back fighting for it again next year?
We'll be back, but maybe in a different car. Same class, different car. I think we've had 3 years out of the TCR. It's done us good, but maybe time for change.
Okay, yeah, obviously it's been a staple of this championship since it began. So yeah, it'd be sad to see it go. And obviously for you guys, you've got just under 2 hours now of biting your fingernails and seeing what the Class C leaders do.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so it'd be sad to see it go, but this time round it's going to be something that's built by Area Motorsport rather than something that's built in a factory.
Okay, well, thanks for talking to us, Carl. Cheers.
Thank you.
Ian, let's go back to you.
And you come back to us with the safety car being sent out for the first time in the course of this race. There we go. Flags and boards being displayed around the circuit. So we need to try and work out what it is that has caused this safety car. I can tell you as far as Class C is concerned, that's where Dan Orsano and Joel Oswick need to win with fastest lap to take the championship away from Carl Swift and Rob Baker. They're only second in that class at the moment, behind Graham Kelly. Graham Kelly it is that leads in Class C in his E46 3255 compared to the older E36 328i of Oswick and Orsano. I should explain, by the way, that the classes in ClubEnduro are split based on power to weight ratio. So Class A is for the most powerful of the cars, up to 300 brake horsepower per ton. Class B is up to 240, and Class C up to 180 brake horsepower per ton. So there we are, there's our race leader, number 49, Will Stacey. He is coming around about to complete his 6th lap of the race, but the safety car now out, Josh.
And I think this has got big Clubman Cup Championship consequences, because it's David Goodin who hasn't come through, who would battle him for the Clubman Cup Championship, and they were the car on pole position there as well. But David Goodin is the one car that hasn't come through at the end of that lap.
Which means that it's potentially a slightly easier ride for Matty Taylor and Will Ashmore in the Army Sports Car Racing Holden Commodore, doesn't it? Because
yep.
they were the leads. They were 7 points ahead of Gooding and Greensaw anyway. But things possibly getting a little bit easier for them.
Because there's 4 cars that can win. The Roses aren't here, I don't think, are they? Which was one of them. The only other one is the Oswick-Orsano car, and that needs to win, which is unlikely, really.
That's right.
So that's a pretty, not done, but it's pretty close, I'd say, for the Army Motorsport team.
So it's worth saying as well, just on that Class C entry that's also in contention for the Club Cup, we're talking about Joel Oswick and Dan Orsano in this race, but Charlie Dark has also raced that car during the course of the season, so it's actually 3 of them that would be getting the championship title to their name. They're in for their team, the BMW 328i. They've switched, I think, preparers and names of preparers during the course of the season. Some back markers that it has picked up, and just a couple there, as it then picks up Will Stacey.
So Bruno Costa was lapping as quick as Will Stacey when the safety car came out, so that could be an interesting battle when they restart. But who this should help in is the drivers who are perhaps not as quick or less experienced, who have started this race compared to their co-driver. So you've got Kevin Clark taking over from Aldo Ritchie, who's doing a good job. He's still there in 4th place, but Kevin Clark is so experienced, isn't he? Did he win the BMW Ultimate race in the summer?
BMW race, yes, he did at Brands Hatch.
So he should
not Brands Hatch, Donington Park.
In this car, so he should be really quick. He's 4th at the M3 there. Then you've got a bit further back the compacts. That's in 10th, Martin Gadsby. So Ian Jones will take that over. Who we heard from at lunchtime, so he should be pretty rapid. And then, of course, you've got Matthew Hampson, who's 14th. Andy Schultz will take that over. So you've got some quick second drivers getting in the cars who are now not losing as much time as what they once were.
No, that's absolutely right. Of course, this is the first safety car period. We may get more. You can't take your mandatory pit stop until 30 minutes of the race have gone by. At the moment, we're not even 15 minutes into the race, so no opportunity yet to use this to make a mandatory stop. Sometimes teams will try to benefit from the safety car period to try and get a better value pit stop, if you like, for their 3-minute mandatory stationary. Of course, when the safety car's out, not as many laps are completed in 3 minutes.
Talking about Class C, as you were earlier, and it's good to have some new entries out there this weekend.
Yes, quite a few, isn't there?
Because it's not been had that many cars in over the course of the year, but this weekend, that's by far the biggest grid. We've got those Toyota Celicas out there, as well. I think there's a BMW 325 we haven't seen before, and some Mazdas as well, so that's good to see. And in the past it's shown that you can win the overall championship in that class, and it's certainly a possibility again this season. With, I guess, although it's way too early to say this, at this point, well, it's almost second, isn't he, in Class C, so he needs to get that position over the next hour and 50 minutes. It's certainly a possibility that could well happen. Safety car lights might be off here. It's hard to tell from this distance through the trees. Let's check that as the safety car comes up. Oh no, the lights are still on, so the safety car's staying out, and the rescue crew are out there as well, aren't they? So in Class B, currently we've got Matt Fazy leading in Steve Houston's Porsche. They haven't won this year in the results as the Browse M3 comes in. That's too early for a mandatory stop, as Ian was saying. They won on the road at Donington, didn't they, at the beginning of the year, but then got a track limit penalty, so that's interesting to see if they can stay there. Then second in B is Scott Parkin, and again he's had some seconds but not won this season, so perhaps we could get a new winner in the B class. But a problem there for the Luke and the Luke Browse car, Luke and Paul Browse, isn't it, his co-driver, who have had a decent season. They've had a 5th place over the course of the season, but obviously in the pit lane before the pit window opens is not good.
It's not, no, and we've had just about 60 minutes left. There is the Browse car now down in the pit lane, headlamps coming on and off.
So it was the Hampton car that I saw smoking, not this one, so
yes, that's
I don't know what the problem might be. It's a spectacular looking car, this, the M3 GTR in the Stowmarket glass livery. Which,
massive wing on the back, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's not the only one out there with a big wing.
No, left-hand drive, as you can see there. And there you can see the minimum weight specified for that car, 1250. That's based on the power output that it's been measured at on the rolling road. So all of the cars have to go onto a rolling road to assess their power output, and then from that their minimum weight is calculated.
Something to do with the rear diffuser, possibly. That's
yes, that's it. That's dropped down, hasn't it? Yes, you can see that more clearly now as we look behind the car. So they will try to lash that back together again.
So as I made the point earlier, Will Stacey's the only car other than Baker and Swift to win this year. And there's been very few cars that have won over the last few seasons. It's not been that car. So it'll be interesting to see if Will Stacey can hang on, or whether we could get a new winner, because I think no other car has won at all in ClubEnduro who are here today.
No.
But Will Stacey's obviously rapid. He won at Croft in this car. He won in Class B last year. He's upgraded to a Class A car. Rob Boston Racing has upgraded the car for this season. He said Donington it struggled a little bit, but it's been really quick since. It was very fast at Anglesey, but had issues. So he's going to be hard to beat, I think, but there are certainly some contenders behind him at this stage.
That's right. Of course, if Rob Baker and Carl Swift, in spite of their non-finish as it would seem today, can wrap up the championship, that will be a hat-trick of titles for them, won't it, as far as Class A is concerned. And indeed the overall positions as well. It was 2019. The champion was Joe Taylor in Class A, but it was, I think, Steve Cheetham that won the overall title, wasn't it, that year? And 2018, the overall title went the way of Steve Houston and Matt Noster. So that was the last time it was won by a Class C car 4 years ago. So we'll see if that can be repeated today by Oswick and Orsano.
They've had an eventful week as well, just to mention it. They had an engine failure in the week in testing, so where the new gearbox for Swifter and Baker hasn't worked out, it'll be interesting to see if the new engine is going to work out for the BMW team. That's
right. If they win but don't get fastest lap, they will finish level on points with Baker and Swift, and if that is the case, by my reckoning, it'll be Baker and Swift that win the championship, because we have to go.
I thought that's if Swift and Baker got win and fastest lap.
I think they've got 79 points anyway.
Is it not 78?
No, you're quite correct, Josh.
I thought that's what you told me earlier.
But then, if Orsano and Oswick don't get points, they could. I'm trying to think, can they get 78 mathematically? Possibly they can't.
So it's a win or nothing.
It's a win or nothing, basically. Yes, you're quite right.
So at least it's easy to follow, I think. Now, where before it could have got more complicated.
Yes, you're right. So that's it. If they win their class, with fastest lap or not, they will win the championship.
They're not currently leading.
They're not.
But I think Joel Oswick's been a little bit quicker than Dan Orsano this season. And Joel is going second today, unlike Anglesey.
That's right.
But it's the Scotsman, Graham Kelly, that leads that class. And obviously this is Paul Sheard is going to finish the MX-5, isn't he? And he's going to be very quick in that car.
And don't forget as well, Oswick and Orsano have got a 30-second pit stop penalty.
Yes, I forgot about that, yeah.
The only others in that class have a penalty are the Hayes and Cipriani duo with 10 seconds. So they've got an uphill task.
Yeah, it's going to be especially a lot of good. David Goodin's car's not in good shape.
It's not, is it? It's been off.
So he was involved in that big battle, wasn't he, that we saw, and the front end of that M3 has taken quite the whack.
It has, hasn't it? It's quite heavy damage on that, so...
We think it was at Shell Oils.
Right. You wonder then if there's any damage to barriers as well when you see hefty damage on the front end like that in Oulton Park. So we'll see exactly how soon we go racing once again. Safety car lights, it's difficult to tell, but I think they are still on. Yes, they are.
Yeah, last time we saw it sort of go off on the way down to Lodge, didn't we?
Yes.
But,
so I think we've got a little bit longer to go behind the safety car, obviously at least half a lap, because the car is at Britain's now.
Yeah, so this restart's going to be interesting because Bruno Costa, to say, his lap times are pretty much identical to Will Stacey. He'll have more power, so Stacey needs to make quite a good restart here so he doesn't come under threat on the straights. And Bruno Costa is seemingly doing a good job here in his touring car debut. The Brazilian he raced in Monoposto before, so it's a very different style of racing, isn't it, there. And he missed the last meeting in Monoposto at Donington, I think, so they could build the funds up to do this race. In ClubEnduro at Oulton Park in this Volkswagen Golf.
Just waiting to see if we might be getting going again fairly soon, but still got the yellow flag, I think, on the finish line, or is that being put away?
I think it might be.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I can still see the Luke and Paul Browse car is now up on the jacks as they try to fix that rear diffuser. Still there at the far end of the pit lane from our commentary position.
The safety car's coming into Lodge.
And it's at the...
yeah, there's no gap. Yeah, here they are. They're backed up, haven't they? So we've got Will Stacey about to take the restart in.
Yeah, here comes the safety car into the pit lane. So Will Stacey controls the pace. And with an hour and 43 minutes left to go, so we've had about 22 minutes of this race. The race about to get back underway. Then David Gooding's BMW having been recovered. So Stacey it is in number 49 that leads. 26 is second. That's Bruno Costa. In third place, it's the number 15 car of Colin Gillespie. In fourth is 177, that's Aldo Ritti. In fifth place, number 14, Chris Freeman. In sixth place, number 2, that's Ben Rushworth. Seventh is number 27, Mark Rice. Eighth is number 13, Matt Fazy. Ninth is 117, Matthew Gadsby, Mark Gadsby. And 43, Steve Cheatham rounds out the top 10.
And they're the Class C cars battling away through Old Hall to start lap 10 of this race. But Will Stacey made a good restart, but Bruno Costa already is starting to put him under pressure here. Remember, he is an invitational class car, but overall lead battle's an overall lead battle. And they come out of Shell Oil with the Lotus ahead of the Golf, and then the Sayat chasing of Colin Gillespie. There's a good battle going on for fourth place, where Aldo Ritti's M3 is just ahead of Chris Freeman in his debut in the Jess Hawkins car, I think that is. And then you've got Ben Rushworth, and you've got Mark Grice, who started the season out in an Audi, now he's in a Sayat. And they head then down here into the Hislop chicane, the BMW M3 ahead of this trio of Sayats. It looks a bit like the Sayat Euro Cup from a few years ago there, those three cars battling together, but it is Chris Freeman and his newly acquired car going really well. In fifth position, but Ritti doing a good job in his ClubEnduro debut here. I think he's raced in the Burkitt before, I was being told yesterday. So he has had a bit of 750 Mode Club experience, and hopefully he's enjoying himself here at Oulton. That car going very well. I think that could be a contender. But here comes Rushworth down the inside of Freeman, who breaks desperately late. That car has been wrapped since yesterday. It was in a different livery yesterday. As Will Stacey goes through, and that's a record, I think, is it not?
Yes, it is. A 1:48.89.
Actually, Costa's gone faster, although he's an invitational car, so it won't be an actual record. But he's set the fastest lap as Rushworth goes through for fifth.
Yeah, so that 1:48.89, a new lap record for Class A and overall, as you say, the invitation class record won't count for anything, but that's now 6 tenths faster than the Houghton Boardman lap record from a couple of years ago. Who was that was off the circuit at Lodge Corner? One of the BMWs, I
Graham
think.
Kelly, Class C leader.
So that should mean that it's now Joel Oswick and Dan Olsano at the wheel at the moment into the lead in Class C. Yes, that's confirmed on our timing screen. And Graham Kelly not yet come through. It's Hayden Subiani now second, and the Joseph Marshall car now third within Class C on the road. As we move on to lap number 11 of this race, we're looking there at number 2. That's Ben Rushworth. He's sandwiched in between Chris Freeman and Mark Grice at the moment in this bevy of Cupras.
Of now.
Yes, he is indeed, actually. And there we can see the 117 car. That's Gadsby, the 43 car, Steve Cheetham, in the Lodge Sports Racing Porsche, long-time Porsche racer, former Porsche 924 champion as well, of course.
He started 20th, so he's had a good run up to the top 10.
Yeah, as you say, it was a rather mixed-up grid with the testing conditions that the cars had for qualifying. It was still decidedly damp at that point of the day, and possibly a few drivers weren't completely... well, that was kind of telegraphed. The car that's pulling off onto the grass is number 69. That is Matthew Hampson's BMW, the car that started strongly. It led the race briefly, but now it has expired. It was smoking quite a bit in the early stages of the race, and now it has retired. Matthew Hampson is getting out of the car, so that's a couple of BMWs that have retired already, where we've not seen the quicker of the two drivers, Nigel Greenstall in the case of the one that's already been off. And that's also significant for the Clubman Championship possibly as well, because into the gravel goes the Holden Commodore, number 46 of Matty Taylor. That's at Druids. He's driven out of it again. I wondered if that was a problem that might have been a longer term issue, but we'll have to see if the Holden stays out here, or if that possibly comes into the pit lane. So lots and lots of things going on. I was saying, yes, we've not seen Nigel Greenstall, and we're not going to see Andy Schultz either in the Matthew Hampson BMW. Both of them missing out on the chance for some seat time in this ClubEnduro race.
Will Stacey's now set a new lap record that's quite a bit faster, 1 minute 47.75, so that's properly rapid, isn't it? So that's a second and 3/4 faster than we've seen anyone go before in the category. The Holden came through in 19th, so it is still going, and Ben Rushworth's 4th. He's got ahead of Aldo Riti, and behind Mark Grice has got himself up ahead of Chris Freeman, so that's a couple of place changes there. So now Rushworth is free of traffic. It'll be interesting to see how he is able to catch Colin Gillespie, who's there in 3rd place, but Will Stacey now leads by a couple of seconds, and flags out on the track, Ian?
Yeah, slippery surface flags out at Oulton Corner, indicating that there's some fluid down or maybe some debris on the circuit. So that's another hazard that the drivers have got to contend with. You can see green flags there at Hilltop, and that is because of the car. I think that's where the Hampson's car's pulled off, hasn't it, around the Britain's part of the circuit. Before
that, we saw the battle for 3rd in Class B between the two Golfs. That was Jonathan Packer versus Luke Handley. This is the Class B leader, Matt Fazy, with a whole host of Class A cars between himself and Scott Parkin, who's 2nd in the class. And there they are. There's Packer ahead of Handley. So Luke Handley, who has had a couple of wins this season in the class, and he's chasing Jonathan Packer, who's had 1 win this season. So Class B's been the most wide open of the 3 categories. Packer won the first round at Donington, Handley won at Croft and at Spa. Chris Freeman, who's now upgraded, has won at Silverstone and Snetterton. At Anglesey it was Rob Boston. They're still side by side, these cars. Yep, and it's Handley that's eventually gone through there. So Handley, well, briefly, it looks like he's trying to fight back here. Is Packer on the run down to Cascades? Didn't see which way that went in the end, but that was the battle for 13th and 14th overall. There's a Mazda in problems here. Bullshit car. That's the Joseph Marshall driven car. Yeah. So again, that's another that's blown up. Yes, so that looks like it's out of the race. Also another driver where the quick driver's not going to be out for the second part of the race, it would seem. And that's one of the real contenders that could have took the challenge, I think, to the class win. Although Orsano is only leading by 0.6 of a second over the Johnny Hayes and Paul Sabiani car that has been a class winner earlier in the season, and that's, I think, the other car that's got a success penalty. Yes, it is, but 20 seconds less success penalty. The Browse car's about to go back out into the race, by the way. So it looks like the rear diffuser on that car has been fixed, and they'll be able to get that back out into the race. Meanwhile, this is still what's going on for 13th and 14th position overall, and for
second place within Class B. Number 5 is Jonathan Packett. Number 51 is the man already crowned champion in Class B this season, Luke Handley, and they are climbing up Clay Hill for the 13th time.
You can see the new rear wing that Area Motorsport have developed on the Handley car, new for this weekend. It's behind the standard rear wing. It's not really it's just a spoiler, isn't it? Like from Volkswagen of Packard. So whether that new wing makes much difference, I'm not sure. But they are having that good battle between the two of them, as Steve Cheetham has gained some positions here. He's up to 8th, I think. He's got past Martin Gadsby, who's now side by side with Matt Fazy into Old Hall, as the marshals working hard around the back of the track to get Matthew Hampson's car into a place of safety. Yeah,
good work by the marshals there. A good number of them needed to push that big heavy BMW up against the barriers, and hopefully that will obviate the need for the safety car in this phase of the race, where we are now in a situation where the pit stop window is open, because we've had 1 hour, or we've had 30 minutes basically, 1 hour 34 and a bit left to go, so drivers can now start to make their pit stops should they so wish. They're mandatory stops that have to be 3 minutes minimum in length.
I think Steve Cheetham leads the Clubman Cup, we haven't mentioned yet. I think second is probably the Holden still, despite that off earlier, and then the Sano car, something like 4th, I think, in the Clubman Cup. There's one of those Toyota Celica's. I think they're really good-looking cars. Those two we've got out with us today, Wayne Cockrell and Sarah Hobson. So I think we've seen at least Sarah out before with us in ClubEnduro. Wayne Cockrell may be having his debut here. As Will Stacey, here he comes, the race leader across the line to complete 14 laps, up ahead of Bruno Costa's Golf. And the gap between the two of them, just 3.7 seconds. Will Stacey's going solo. Bruno Costa will hand over to Paul Curran in that car. And then for third place, Gillespie's now been caught pretty much by Ben Rushworth. And Aldo Ritchie going with him. So there's quite a battle, I think, for third place that's still ongoing in this race. With Mark Grice not far behind, then a gap back to Chris Freeman, then a very large gap to 8th, which is Steve Cheetham, only now coming across the line. Meanwhile, I think if we stay with this shot, we should see the Class C leaders soon, and there's not very much between them. It should be the next couple of cars. Yeah, there's Arsano, isn't it? And then who started the compact behind? That was Sabiani, wasn't it? Paul Sabiani in the 318. So he's chasing after Dan Arsano, and I say that's the other car that's won this year in the class, I think, isn't it? They won at Donington and at Spa, did Hayes and Sabiani. Yeah.
Really, though, Arsano here needs to be building a lead. He needs to get sort of 20 seconds ahead of the car that's chasing it, because they've got 20 seconds difference in the success penalties that they've got to serve as well. Just ahead of them on the road, you can see the number 76 car. That is Michael Downey in the Porsche Boxster S, a long time and stalwart supporter of ClubEnduro.
I think he's third in the Clubman Cup at this stage as well, I think, anyway. So that'd be a good result if he can stay there. Not sure if he's achieved that this year or not, without checking masses of paperwork.
Meanwhile, on screen at the moment...
No, he hasn't, just to get to that point.
Okay. Bruno Costa, you can see on screen at the moment, running wide.
Couldn't do that in a single-seater, could you?
No, you couldn't. And that's wide enough to attract the attentions of the officials, one would suggest as well. So he'll need to be mindful of avoiding going over the white and red curbs that demarcate the driver's line. Now that's the reason why I've got the slippery surface back out. It's because there's a corner marker. I'm not quite sure how it's got there in the middle of the circuit on the exit of Old Hall Corner. And that's the reason why the slippery surface was shown a few moments ago, I think.
Chris Freeman suddenly been caught by Steve Cheetham, so I suspect, Freeman's had a very slow lap there, so perhaps an off-track excursion. So he's been caught for 7th now by Steve Cheetham there in the Porsche Boxster, the former champion, when that car running Class B, now a Class A car. Then you've got Martin Gadsby behind, as well as 99. We've got a car in the pits, I think you spotted it.
Yeah, Matt Fazy it is that's into the pits from the lead of Class B. And where was he? He was, I think he was about 9th or 10th overall, wasn't he?
Steve Houston isn't ready to get in, so I think that's a problem.
So not a scheduled stop then. One was just, they'll probably try to make this into their mandatory stop if they possibly can.
It's steaming, but that might just be from hot brakes.
Is Steve Houston looking like he's going to try and
he's
get
got no helmet on. He's just got
Okay.
he's having a chat to Matt Fazy, who's not getting out.
Of course, it's a 3-minute stop anyway, so you don't need to rush the driver change.
But that's also if you can do 90 minutes on a tank of fuel after this.
That's rather the question, isn't it? Because the driver will need to be getting
Matt
out.
Fazy's getting out now in a very
Is he looking grumpy?
Well, no, he sort of fell out of the car rather than
right.
climbed out, which wasn't particularly comfortable, I shouldn't think.
Well, there's the car.
They're sort of preparing it for a stop now, aren't they?
They are.
But not in a particular rush. But like you say, it doesn't necessarily need to be a rush. See, our camera crew have got down there, so we can have a look in the car. But you can see no driver or much attention, to be honest.
No, absolutely right. So that's the Porsche Cayman, with the backing from Intelligent Money, of course. Also connected with the British GT Championship as well.
So yeah, they're getting the fuel ready, I think, because they weren't prepared for this stop, were they? So they haven't got anything ready, which they're now doing. So that means the Class B lead now goes away with Scott Parkin. Luke Handley's not into second, and Jonathan Packer third. Now the fuel's ready, now the fuel's going in.
Yes, I wonder if they might lose some time in this pit stop as a result of this, because it's taken a good minute or so, hasn't it, to get to this point. Where, of course, ideally you'd been all ready and raring to go with your extinguisher and your dump churn for the fuel. But not the case here, but the Porsche Cayman in the pits, and if a 5-second penalty for someone well down the order. That's the number 95 car of James Merrill's. He's in the Master MX-5 that is shown with Alex Walker.
Yeah, it's a Mark 1 car as well, so it's probably not going to be the quickest car in the class, but good to have one of the original MX-5s out with us in ClubEnduro. There's our class invitational car, the Bruno Costa car. That's still second, now 5 seconds though behind the leader, Will Stacey. You can see Will Stacey just up the road there, embroiled in all the traffic. But these two 20 seconds clear of the rest, which is still being headed by...
Class C lead looked like it was about to change there, Josh. Sorry to cut over you as they went past our commentary box window, because looking up the inside there was Paul Subiani trying to get a place away from Dan Orsano there. So that's the last thing Dan Orsano needs to be dealing with. But we might have to change for the lead in Class C. They'll be down at Cascades now, I should think. But we'll try and keep an eye on that battle. Sorry to cut across you there.
No problem at all. There's Handley. So now he has got ahead of Freeman. He looks a little faster. Head of Packer, I should say. He looks a little faster and starting to pull clear. So that's interesting now to see if he can go after Scott Parkin, who's out there in a diesel Golf. So we've got different Golfs in those first 3 positions. Then the Gianettas in 4th, the Tidmarsh and Webster car. Then another Golf, Joe Williams 5th, and then a Lotus Elise in 6th, the Rob Fennick car, as that battle continues for second in the category, and they are only about 4 seconds behind Scott Parkin. So now they've put 2 laps on the Porsche, so that's more than 3 minutes, isn't it? That car's been in the pit lane, but it does look like that stop's potentially coming to an end.
Okay, well, I don't think it was meant to be the mandatory stop, but it's been turned into that. So we just need to see whether all is well with that car when it goes back out, which it is doing now. There you can see it on screen, going out for its second stint. So it should now be Steve Houston aboard that car. The owner and former champion, of course, 2018, when he won the championship with Matt Noster from Class C in a BMW.
Yeah, we just got a glimpse of Ben Rushworth, who's not actually put so much pressure on Colin Gillespie for third in this race, as I thought he might do at one stage there. He's still a couple of seconds behind him. So Gillespie going well, isn't he, in that car. Chris Stevens is down there in the pits, I presume he's with Matt Fazy.
Well, Matt Fazy's just been in from the Class B lead in the Intelligent Money Racing Porsche. But Matt, all is not well in your camp.
No, it is not. It wasn't a bad start, but we were going quite well, although I was aware that Parkin had got significant time on us. And then Steve Cheatham tried to have his Boxster mount my Cayman, and since that point we got a misfire. She wouldn't rev past 4,000, without coughing and spluttering, and I was a complete sitting duck out there. We don't yet know whether it will be a case of brought the car in, reset the car, and it will clear any fault codes and Steve will be fine, which I hope, or whether we've actually got a problem. But Steve Cheetham was quite forceful with his attempt at penetration, so I think he may have damaged the exhaust. We'll see.
Okay,
it was a racing incident. There's no blame on Steve here. It was a racing incident. It's just annoying.
So where are you lacking now? Is it straight line speed?
Oh, I thought you meant generally in life. We ain't got time for that. We're not like, well, the engine won't rev, so it was everywhere on his corner exit. But I'd already experienced, in all fairness, before that happened, I'd already experienced a problem, and I'd radioed in that the car wouldn't let me downshift. So all of a sudden the gearbox was acting like it wasn't in manual, like it was in automatic mode, which is just absolutely impossible to use on a racetrack. So I don't know, I'm just waiting now to see what will happen, what Steve will do, whether a reset, switching everything off, all the electrics off, will reset the ECU and we'll be good, or whether we've got a proper problem. But I'm gutted, because if we have got a problem, I thought my start was good enough to do what we needed to do today, which is what we came here to do, and we had it, and it's been a fairly unlucky season.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for you, and hope that you can get the car back in one piece. Ian, let's go back to you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Chris. And Matt Fazy there. Always a good value interview. Right, we've got 1 hour 24 minutes left of this race to go. We did see Steve Houston go past our commentary position a moment ago. We've not yet, I don't think, seen a representative lap time since he's been back out there, but we'll keep an eye on that, seeing what kind of times he's doing.
It shows that their pit stopping was probably just over 3.5 minutes, so they lost over half a minute in the pit stop.
Okay. 14 is Chris Freeman. You can see him on screen at the moment. He's in 7th position overall and 6th within Class A, and he is just ahead of Steve Cheetham, who was figured prominently in that interview with Matt Fazy. He's there in his Boxster, number 43, and there is the Class C car. That is number 53. That is Dan Orsano. Is he still leading?
No, he was behind him.
He was behind, yeah. He was behind Paul Subiani, so we saw that from our commentary box window a few moments ago, the potential change. Obviously, there was a change subsequently. So for the moment, it's not going the way that Dan Orsano and Joel Oswick need it to go if they're going to overhaul the already hobbled Rob Baker and Carl Swift, who've already retired from Class A. Right, here comes Steve Houston, just about to go over the line now in the Cayman, so we should shortly get an idea on the lap time.
4 seconds off what Fazy did in it earlier.
Okay.
But obviously Steve Houston might just be getting up to speed as well at this stage.
Yes.
I don't know how much off the lap times were before that.
Yes, there's the car turning down through Cascades now. Obviously it's right towards the bottom of the field now, isn't it, as well?
It's last of the... Well, apart from the Browns car, I guess. It's back
yes,
out there.
which is back out into the race. That had a long pit stop while its diffuser was repaired, of course, the number 22 car. So was that Will Stacey as well that was just coming up to lap it as well, I think.
Yeah, he leads by 10 seconds now over Bruno Costa. Then there's another 15 back to Gillespie, Rushworth, Reedy and Grice, who are all fairly close to one another. There's Stacey now ahead of Houston on the road. So Stacey continuing to push on, and in the traffic he's been pulling away from Bruno Costa. On the previous lap he pulled 3 seconds in one lap, so the little Elise seems to be able to deal with the traffic pretty well despite not having the power. Just
also in shot there is the Matthew Tipping BMW 325i, drive from Lutterworth, sharing with Lawrence Vines from Huddersfield. Is that the first time we've seen that particular car out? I think it is, yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen that car before in my life, so that's good to have. Here's the battle, though, between Subiani and Orsano. It's a pretty strong battle here.
Yeah, the German Also Works car is now the banner that they run under, the Orsano and Oswick car, and you can see they're just coming down towards the Hislops chicane now, and they, of course, do need to win their class, so they need to be ahead of Hayes and Subiani. And at this point, unable to make that happen, it would seem.
You mentioned about the penalties in the pit stops, but sometimes with the Class C teams, we don't actually see them get the pit stop done in the regulated time, because obviously they are running probably on a lower budget compared to some of the higher classes, and therefore don't have the personnel to do it quickly. So that's also another thing to factor in, I think, with the Class C pit stops when they come about.
Now this is for 10th place, I think, isn't it? What's on the screen there? So that's Scott Parkin, just getting up behind Martin Gadsby in the 117 BMW Compact.
And this is the battle for 5th place between Aldo Riti and Mark Grice. It's the M3 ahead of the set. They've just lapped the Boxster of Michael Downey as they head into Old Hall after 21 laps of racing. So they're over half a minute behind Stacey now, the leader, as the other battles that you've been mentioning come through. Here's Freeman then in 7th. So it's a big old gap from 6th to 7th. And then he started to pull away again from Steve Cheetham in his Boxster. I don't think he enjoyed the Class A run so much in that car. After Class B went so well when he won the championship, it probably hasn't had those ultimate results that he was after. And then you've got the Nibbenrath set in 9th and still in 10th with Martin Gadsby ahead of Scott Parkin, but Scott Parkin does lead Class B now, though, by only 1.5 seconds, so Luke Handley's almost caught him.
Yep, and Jonathan Pack in 3rd within that class as things stand. It's Freeman just going through there, and Cheetham in the Boxster. Local driver, of course, from Manchester, so his home circuit this weekend. There's the Freeman car turning its way towards the Britain chicane. They're working lap 22 in this case. William Stacey already completed his 22nd lap of the race, but these cars are a minute or so behind the race leader.
Hewson now about a couple of seconds off Matt Fazy's times, so he's getting closer to where he'd probably like to be, I would think. And Matt Fazy earlier was about a couple of tenths off of Steve Hewson's lap record from when that car made its debut here 12 months ago.
If we pick it up at any point, 16th and 17th is a good battle as well. That's Rob Fennick in the Lotus Elise and Joe Williams in his Golf. Also a battle for position within Class B. I think that's going to be 5th and 6th in Class B that they are disputing. There's one of the Celica's going through. That's the 144 car of Sarah Hobson, one of the Class C competitors.
You mentioned there in about Rob Fennick. I think he's actually 2nd in the Clubman Cup. I missed that because they've made a really good start because he started 29th in that Lotus Elise. Driver new to racing.
That's right.
There's Chris Freeman in the ex-Jess Hawkins car that won here at the beginning of the year on Easter Monday in the TCR UK Championship. Chris Freeman and Area Motorsport running that this weekend in a new livery. It's been, I guess, wrapped overnight here at Oulton Park. Meanwhile, battle for 5th is very close now between Aldo Riti and Mark Grice, who have fallen quite a long way behind Ben Rushworth. So now we're into the traffic. Perhaps the bit less experienced Riti now has got a new challenge to deal with, really. And here at Oulton Park, the traffic tougher than ever. Has another fastest lap from Will Stacey, another 6 tenths of a second pulled off what he did earlier, 1:47.1, and that is over 2 seconds under the lap record. It's a shame now that Swift and Baker are out of this, because we could have a real comparison between what their lap times would have been, but that's not to be. I wonder if this kind of performance from Will Stacey might encourage some more Lotuses into the championship, because I think those cars are quicker on a pure lap time.
Yes, I think it would be interesting to see some more Lotus. It gives some more variety as well to the field. Obviously, of course, a lot of TCR type cars at the moment. We've had some rapid BMW. We've still got a rapid BMW there for Kevin Clark and Aldo Riti out there. We lost the Schultz and Hampson car earlier on, but yep, definitely be good to get some more variety, and it shows that you can get the same power to weight ratio, a similar power to weight ratio, which is how these classes are determined in different ways.
That BMW 325 looks a lot like the standard cars that do the VLN at the Nürburgring. I don't know if it is one of those cars or it's a similar thing where they look pretty much bog standard, and then they get rampaged by GT3 cars around the Nürburgring Nordschleife, which hopefully not quite such experience here. But good to have this different type of car out there, and hopefully more of that to come next season. We've already heard earlier from Cole Swift about those plans for Area Motorsport to build a home-built Class A car, which really is what ClubEnduro is all about.
Yeah.
Building your own car. And so it's good to have that. Here's this battle, still for 5th, so Aldo Riti's still ahead. But he heads into his locks as Will Stacey completes the lap, so they're about half a lap behind now in what's only been about half an hour since the safety car came in.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it? So it's been a really strong performance this from Will Stacey, getting his head down and doing what he can. He's putting himself in a very good position. Oh, and that's an off for our championship contender by the looks of it. We only caught the end of that for number 43, Dan Orsano and Joel Oswick, but it looked like they had a little moment there. And they were already second within their class, weren't they, behind Hayes and Subiani? They were about 9 seconds clear of the next car, which was the Mazda MX-5 of Nolan, and I think it's Dave Nolan at the wheel at the moment. No, Dave Connell, 50-50 chance. So we'll see if they've lost the place.
Into the pits comes Aldo Riti, so this is going to be the very experienced Kevin Clark to get into the car that he runs. And yeah, Kevin Clark prepared then, and it's going to be very interesting to see in the dry how quick he is in that car. And here we go, you can see that car in the pits. It's steaming a little bit, I presume that's just the heat. I hope it's just the heat of the car. Although, saying that, has the first driver got out of it?
He's in the process of doing so, isn't he? Yeah. Not so easy to get in and out of these cars. Kevin Clark will get in once the refuelling has been done. I can see there's a time penalty of 10 seconds for car number 5 there. That's Jonathan Packer. That's just appeared on the screen. So he's now got a 15-second penalty in all. So that'll be for lots of track limits infringement. So that's Jonathan Packer. So that's going to cost him positions ultimately, I would think, in Class B. There's the 177 car of Aldo Riti. Kevin Clark, best known, of course, for his exploits in Eurocar racing in the late 1990s, 25 odd years ago now. One of the big names and front runners in Eurocar V6 and then Eurocar V8 when that came in. So Howard developed and masterminded a championship which really took UK motorsport by storm for a few years. It blew in and out very quickly indeed. But huge crowds they had at places like Mallory Park where they raced on the mile over. But good to see Kevin Clark racing in that BMW, which he races quite often in other categories.
He
does this weekend.
He nearly won the Thunder Saloons race at Brands Hatch against the V8 supercar until the car wouldn't go into gear, I think, at one point, and then he caught it again. Well, obviously, he had so much more power he couldn't get past, but it shows you how quick he and that car are as a combination. Obviously, can't run on slicks here, which it probably does on a more regular basis. But it's going to be there. It's great to have him here because I don't think he's done that many 750 Motor Club races in the past, making his ClubEnduro debut. Perhaps doing that Ultimate BMW race is something that might have tempted him to do some more with the club.
There, meanwhile, on screen is Nick Dougal in the TWP Racing MX-5, and that car for the moment
27
is running in 27th position. That's
7th in class.
7th in class. John Monroe will take that car over later on. But that's a car that's always there or thereabouts, and I think an ever-present this season in ClubEnduro.
Yep. And the team have been ever-present too, haven't they? They help
That's
out
right.
with the hospitality as well at race weekends. And they continue on their way. They haven't had so much luck with this car over the last couple of years. It doesn't seem to have the pace that it once sort of had. Well, they had lots of success, or maybe it's just where the Class C speed has got up over the years. Is a possibility.
Yes, although the numbers haven't been so big in Class C until this weekend, actually, this year, it has been fairly competitive. Lots of BMWs as well, setting pretty good lap times.
Looks like the Kevin Clark pit stop is complete, but the car won't get fired back up, so the team just needed to give it a bit of a bump start, and now he's on his way. So Kevin Clark about to get back into the race. Obviously he's been a long way down the order and it's not going to work its way out until a bit later, but it'll be interesting to see the lap times. That's going to be a real point, see if that car is going to be a contender. It's good to have another M3 out there because we haven't had that many M3s in the championship over the last few years, where when ClubEnduro started, the front of the field were all M3s, really.
Yeah, they were the cars to have originally, but then it's become TCR, hasn't it, more recently?
Yeah.
That's been the type of car to have, especially the Leon.
Scary thing is those E46 M3s are still getting on for being a couple of decades old now, which is slightly concerning from...
Yes, I know what you mean.
Because I think BMW took obviously a very upgraded one to win the Nürburgring 24 hours. Before it was a GT3 race, so that sort of shows you how long ago those cars came into existence, but they're still a very good club racing car here and abroad. There's our leader, Will Stacey. He's done 27 laps now. And there's our Class C leaders with a couple of cars between them at this stage. One car that they are lapping and one car that they have lapped. And the gap between Paul Saviani and Dan Alsano is showing as 7 seconds, but that doesn't feel right. It didn't look like 7 seconds to me. That's it. Yeah, it's still showing as that.
Yeah,
it didn't look at 7 seconds to the eye.
Well,
but there's Saviani. There's two similar liveried cars, aren't there?
Yes, that's it.
So it is 7 seconds.
Yeah, that seems about right, doesn't it?
So that gap's gone up quite a lot, which it's making the life difficult, isn't it, for the Class C champions to become the overall champions?
Yes, you would say so. You would say so. So we've got an hour 9 to go. So we're getting not too far away from the halfway point of this race now.
Not many people have made their pit stop.
No. So it could get quite a busy pit lane, especially I think if we get a safety car any time now, that pit lane could get relatively hectic.
But now you've mentioned it,
it's bound to happen. Well, the Oulton Commodores coming in of Matty Taylor and Will Ashmore, so that'll be for their mandatory stop, and that's a car that probably does need to come in roughly halfway through if it can, from a fueling point of view.
It's probably not the most economic on this grid.
No, it's the 6.2 litre engined beast.
So this is Stacey now lapping the car in 8th place, isn't it?
Wow.
The Phil Nib and Andrew Raff car, who was started by Andrew Raff today. So that is the pace of Will Stacey, who's now 23 seconds ahead of Bruno Costa, but about 3/4 of a minute ahead of any other car in Class A. So Will Stacey's just got to keep going. And I wonder if it get to a point where they perhaps start changing gear a bit early to look after the engine and so on.
And into the pits now has come car 53. There it is, and that is the Class C Championship leading car as well. So that's Dan Orsano. He'll hand over to Joel Oswick. He's already out of the car.
Dramatically came into the pit.
Certainly was, didn't it?
It looked from our camera. So you see the air blowers.
Trying to keep it cool.
No.
Hopefully we'll be able to hear from Dan Orsano in a few moments with Chris Stevens after his the pit stop has been completed.
So we'll see if Joel Oswick can go quicker. So that car's been doing, where are we? Been doing 159s. By the way, Kevin Clark is now going faster on his first lap out than his teammate did. He's done a 49, which I think's about a second or so quicker than what the car was doing.
That's impressive.
And he may have had traffic, so he's certainly the third fastest car on the circuit already. Let's see if he can go even quicker.
There's the German AutoWorks car then. It's got to be AutoWorks, I'm not quite sure. But it is the 318 IS. Sim Novice Cross on the back. I think that certainly Dan Orsano is not that experienced. Charles possibly a little bit more so, but not a huge amount in it.
Still got some old brands and on the clothing, you see.
Yeah. But, they are going to get Joel Oswick into the car now for this second part of the race. Now the refuelling has been completed, so we just can't have a driving car. While there's now there's a yellow flag poking out from Island Bend, I think that is, and we can't see why. But certainly something off down at Island. Joel Oswick being strapped in.
And the second car in the race is into the pit, so perhaps They're guessing what might happen next. About 2 minutes after Ian mentioned it, Bruno Costa's into the pits and hand over to Paul Curran, who I feel like is also a monoposto racer.
You may be right, yeah,
but
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see how their pace differentiates.
Yellow flags on the start line and yellow flags around the circuit. And and it's Nick Dougal.
But that's different. That's at Knickerbrook.
That's at Knickerbrook. So that's Nick Dougal that's off. That's a spin. You can see the tyre tracks there. But the safety car is now out, so I think the pit lane is about to get very hectic indeed. Certainly one of the TCR cars is coming into the pit lane now.
Beach and Grice.
Beach and Grice coming in, so that's Grice. Dougal's got going again, by the way. You can see that for those of you watching on the live stream, or for those of you watching down at Hislops and Knickerbrook.
It might be the Janetta. I don't think that's come through. Just make sure it's not in the pits.
The Webster and Tidmarsh car.
Yeah, that's right.
Chris Webster starting the Janetta G40.
So, as you assumed, Ian, everyone is pitting.
I'm not going to keep up with this now.
This probably isn't going to help Kevin Clark, is it? Because they made that pit stop on green conditions.
No.
Not unless they can somehow find themselves on a lead lap or something, but that's quite unlikely. Will Stacey's in, so our safety car's not going to have anyone to pick up here, is it? Apart from probably Kevin Clark.
No, and I'm not going to have any chance at all of keeping tabs on everyone who's been. Nick Dougal's coming in now, having had that spin.
Coming at speed, so he gets a car down to the pit limit. To be fair, their next car was doing the same. So.
50 kilometres per hour. So yes, it's going to, the safety car is waiting at the exit of Old Hall, but there's nobody. Well, Michael Downey is going to oblige. He's staying out there. So he'll pick up Michael Downey, I think.
This probably isn't going to help the Class C guys, or the Yasano car, because obviously half of their pit stop was taken under green flag conditions.
There you can see a recovery Land Rover heading out onto the track as well.
Yes, I think we take the assumption that pretty much everyone's going to pit during the safety car period.
I think so. I mean, it is almost smack on halfway through the race, so I think that's a fair assumption. So the safety car does have a few friends. Michael Downey. It's got Luke Handley behind it as well.
Where's Kevin Clark got to? See there?
Can't tell. There's. You can see how busy the pit lane is. All of a sudden. Everyone coming in at the same time. You can see the cars have to park at this 45-degree angle just to avoid too big a risk of an accident in the pit lane as cars come in. But yeah, almost everybody is in now.
I'm concerned for Ben Rushworth.
Right.
As well as the Janetta.
Okay. That's
two cars that could be missing. There's Kevin Clark, he's just come through, so he's still going.
Yes. So the leaderboard, the time screen isn't going to make too much sense for a little while, I don't think. So give them all a chance to go in and out of the pit lane.
It's busy down there.
It's certainly busy down there. There's the Lotus Elise. That's the Fenwick car, isn't it? Number 10. That's been handed over to Andrew Shepherd for the second part of the race. I can see Phil Nibbs getting back out into the race in the number 92 car from beneath our commentary position. Get the 10 car back out into the race as well. There's number 3 car. That's the car that had the spin of Nick Dougal. There's Ben Rushworth's car. Now that's all on its own out on circuit, and he's going straight through the chicane at Hislops and Knickerbrook. So that suggests that that's not going to continue in the race. It's gravel. There's gravel that's being shaken out of that car as well. So I think you're right, Josh, to be concerned about Ben Rushworth, because I think he's been off in the gravel.
So was that related to the G40 that I think is the other car? Oh, that's come through now. So the Tidmarsh and most of the cars come through. So perhaps that means we can get racing back underway at the moment.
It's come down further down than it should have been.
Yeah, so they've both been through the gravel together, I wonder.
Yeah, maybe they're coming together, which they've both now escaped from.
So we had the Gulf pitted that lap earlier than everyone else, didn't it? The Costa and Curran car. So whether that is going to work into an advantage or disadvantage, I don't know at this stage. But Will Stacey's stop's done, so I think that is. Ooh dear. Yeah, okay.
Congested down there, is it?
We got away with that. But yeah, Stacey's back out. It's not going to be to the next lap. We understand what's going on, though, is it? Yeah, I think that he should be leading.
Rushworth's into pits, by the way. So hopefully that car will be able to get back out into the race.
Not sure I've ever seen Ben Rushworth in a gravel truck.
Well, we still haven't. We're
Well,
only assuming that that's where he was.
Safety car's going to come in before some of the stops are done. So, going to work out interestingly, I think.
It is. It's been a relatively short safety car intervention. So, race gets back underway. It's Michael Downey then that is the first car across the line. Is not leading the race. That's still being shown as William Stacey on our timing screen at the moment from Phil Drybrook will now be in second place. And Luke Handley, who stayed out there, hasn't he, in third.
Unusual, isn't it? Because he normally comes in at stages like that. But perhaps he thought it might be a short safety car period, so elected to stay out.
Well, also he's wrapped up his championship, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
less pressure from that point of view, and possibly wanting to make sure other area cars had the run of the pit lane.
So Costa's come through. So he's still on the lead lap at least. And it's probably a bigger gap than what it was, I would suggest.
Yeah, we just need to see how this all shakes out, because at the moment the continuity doesn't make complete sense. You can see we've got the race back underway, but there is a warning of slippery surfaces as well, and that's
with the gravel that's been put down.
Yes, courtesy of Ben Rushworth, I think. Liberally spread around the circuit now. So into the last hour of this race now.
Yeah, so Kevin Clark is at least a lap down, I think. So that.
Well, the pit lane has finally quietened down after a hive of activity during that safety car period. Plenty of close calls and barked orders. But one man who got in before all that kicked off was Dan Asano in the number 53. Now, obviously, you at the Elite Works team are going for the overall title. Okay, we're going for the overall title. Yeah. And so how was the first part of your race?
Yeah, it weren't easy, but I mean, I stuck in there. You know, some good competition out there, so it was a bit tough. But I want to say a massive thank you to the team. The team got the car ready. We had a major issue a couple of days ago. The team worked literally through the night till 4 o'clock in the morning to get the car here today. So a massive thank you. And yeah, it's hopefully we can bring it home. And yeah, but it's tough. It's tough. It is tough.
Obviously, your main title rival's #1 area motorsport car came into the pits in the first few minutes of the race. Joel's in the car for you guys now, so do you think you can bring this home?
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I mean, Joel is a fabulous driver. You know, he's so fast. So, you know, if anyone can do it, he can. So, fingers crossed. Yeah.
And what about next year? Do you guys have any plans for that sorted yet?
I think we're going to move up to Class B, possibly. I think. I'm not 100% sure, but run a Class C and a Class B car. I think that's the plan. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing that. Good luck to you and Joel for the rest of the race. Ian, let's go back up to you.
Minute from Stacey to now Phil Drybrook. So, if anything, the Rob Boston Racing crew have done a good job there. And because the safety car didn't stay out for very long, it meant they've won up to Will Stacey, who goes across the line there to do 32 laps. But like you're saying, Luke Handley didn't pit, so he's there in second place. And these two are the leading B stoppers, absolutely together. Jonathan Packer, who got this time penalty though for track limits, versus Scott Parr. There's Kevin Clark roaring through. He's just behind them in the race, so that's actually for position. So he's 10th now. He's done
big moment there.
That was Packer, wasn't it? So is that going to let Parkin through? Yes, it does. Yes. So Scott Parkin now takes the lead of the class, and Kevin Clark got past both of them while that was happening, I think.
He did, so he's up to 8th, I think, now, isn't he? Yes, Packer with that 15-second penalty as well for track limits infringement, so that's going to cut him back. Also, Also coming through is Ian Jones now. I think Ian Jones is now in the compact, so he's going to make his way past those couple of golfs in fairly short order, I would think.
Kevin Clark versus Ian Jones should be pretty good. Lapping, well, Kevin Clark's a little faster. Actually, I think he might have got past Ian Jones on that lap, but they should be quite similar, I think. So here's Clark. He is 4 seconds faster than Beach and Driver on that last lap, who he's trying to catch. But he is quite a long way behind them. But that, if he continues to be that much faster, that should be a real prospect. He's lapping exactly the same lap times as Will Stacey's doing.
Yeah.
So that is... the pit stop didn't work out for Kevin Clark, but he could still drag that car into a pretty good position with still the best part of an hour of racing to go.
That's very true. So there is Parkin trying to find his way past the Lotus.
And how good was he through this traffic, which Ian Jones is struggling with?
Yes.
That is all those years of endurance racing experience for Kevin Clark in all types of cars, generally BMWs. I saw him out in a Z4 earlier in the year, GT3 car. But he's raced all sorts of cars. But that is where, especially around here, the experience is going to come in. And whether we can get that car up onto a podium, we shall see over the next 55 minutes of the season.
Yep, there is Packer then just ahead of Handley, isn't he? But that's on different laps now.
So it's Handley a lap ahead. Yes. Yeah. But that pit stop, if he has to do under the green conditions, is going to be more than that.
Yes, it's going to be a lap and a half pretty much, isn't it, I would think. Something like that by the time we've got into and out of the pit lane. So
Kevin Clark is a minute and 10 behind Driver, who's second in Class A. And on that lap he was again 3 seconds faster.
Yeah.
So it's not to be ruled out, although it's a big gap at this stage.
No. It's looking good for Will Stacey to win this, because he's now 57 seconds clear of the next car that has stopped, and that's the invitation class car.
There's one. The German Auto Works car's in the pits. So this is championship possibly over.
This is significant down there in the pit lane now. The Joel Oswick car has come in. Another car about to come into the pit lane as well. That's the Edward Christie number 481 car, isn't it? But we can see from our comment box window, Joel Oswick into the pits. The bonnet is up on that car. There it is. Just in ahead of it is Edward Christie in the 481, but it's the car behind going on with it. And Edward Christie getting out of his car. He will get back into it after the refuelling has been done. But this is the car that's potentially able to win the championship, but probably not.
That was being put in.
Yeah.
We heard there about how the team changed the engine over the nights in the week, but perhaps for the team now put the bonnet back down. Oh, John Oswick's been out of the car, so he's got back in again. They had fire extinguishers ready, like they were very concerned with things down there. But yeah, surely you can't fight back from this if it's going to be too much of a loss. It was an uphill battle, I think, as it was for Joel Oswick, but that's potentially even worse.
Yes, yeah, they need the win. They need to win the class, but I don't think that's going to happen now. They are going to get the car back into the race, but they've lost another best part of a lap there, I would think.
Yeah, at least.
So I'm afraid, from their point of view, it's looking like their championship might be over now, and the advantage is swing back to Carl Swift and Rob Baker. But both of the main overall championship contenders having issues with the gearbox and clutch in the case of Swift and Baker, and we think with the engine in the case of Orsano and Oswick.
About of a second in Class A is pretty close now, heading down Cascades, because Phil Driver, former Silverstone 24-hour race winner, has been caught by Will Beach there. So that's for second in Class A. So that's going to be a battle that perhaps we can grab an eye on later. The Browse M3, that's still going after its problems earlier. We can see they're heading over Hilltop, but that's well out of contention. So Kevin Clark, by the way, he's now 20 seconds behind Steve Cheetham, who just comes across the line. So that's another gap to watch. So James Ramsden's back out, isn't he, in the car Rushworth went off in.
Yeah.
But that's way down now. That's 25th or so.
Yeah, 24th thing, but yep, that kind of territory.
They were second in Class A Championship, weren't they? I don't know whether that how close that is without having a look. They were 9 points ahead of Gillespie and Dryborough.
Yeah, so that could change around. That could well change around because Gillespie and Dryborough at the moment are second, aren't they, within Class A? Probably more than likely to stay there, I would think. But so keep an eye on that one as this race comes towards its conclusion.
See there, Steve Hewson still going. But he is 19th now, and lapping pretty quickly, about as quick as you'd expect in traffic. So that car seems to have resolved the issues from earlier. There's Phil Nibb after their pit stop. He's 12th in the car that Andrew Raff started. And about of a second just coming, or second Class A is just coming across the line. It's still Phil Driver ahead. Here we go. You can see them on the screens now. So the two Sayat Cupras. So Driver, the ex-British GT racer. Will Beach, a lot less experienced, but perhaps a little bit more in this type of car, I guess. But although catching Driver quickly, now that Beach has caught him, he hasn't actually really been able to do anything without getting past at this stage. They're 17 seconds behind Paul Curran, who's doing a similar kind of lap time in the Gulf. Who obviously is the invitational entry. Then Chris Freeman, he's 4th in Class A. He's across the line now. He's lapping about the same pace as them. Then Steve Cheetham is 5th. He's through, but then the rapid one is Kevin Clark, who is 6th, who comes out of Deers Leap now. So he's about half a lap behind, isn't he, at this stage? But Kevin Clark goes across the line, and on that lap, again, he was 3 seconds faster than this battle. So we're going to have at least 20 more laps, aren't we?
Yeah.
And the gap is about 50 seconds at the moment. It's 3 seconds a lap. So that is a class podium potentially on the card still for Kevin Clark, I would think.
Keep an eye on that. Graham Kelly's come into the pits as well from Class C. So
he's well down, so that could be a second pit stop, I think.
Yes, could be.
Because the Class C leader, I don't think is pitted. That's Wayne Cockrell, who's 15th overall, whereas Kelly's 25th. So I suggest that's the second stop.
They will be correct. It's worth just giving fully a rundown on the order for those of you at the circuit. So it's number 49, William Stacey, that leads. Number 51 is second, Luke Handley, but he's yet to make his stop. He needs Class B for the moment at least. And third overall is the invitation class car, that's number 26, Paul Curran, now at the wheel of that one. Fourth is number 15, Phil Driver, now driving that. Fifth is number 27, which is Mark Rice at the wheel. Sixth is 14, Chris Freeman. Seventh is 43, Steve Cheetham. Eighth is 177, which is Kevin Clark now. Ninth is 117, Ian Jones. Rounding out the top 10, and the first of the Class B stoppers is Scott Parkin, ahead of Jonathan Packer, who's got the 15-second penalty. And third within that class is the car that's actually just going into the pit lane, so it won't be third for much longer. That's Michael Downey in the Porsche Boxed S. In Class C, as you say, Wayne Cockrell leads that. Josh, he's 15th overall in car 122, the Toyota Celica, but we think yet to make his stop there. So the de facto leader in that class is Johnny Hayes, who's taken over there from Paul Cipriani in car 66. Then Dave Nolan is third within that class, number 97, as we now have 47 3/4 minutes of the race left to go. Another 32 minutes for any drivers that have yet to make their mandatory pit stop.
Kevin Clark's in the 48s now, so he's getting quicker. That is the pretty much bang on what Bruno Costa's best was. But while we watch this battle on the circuit, let's go down into the pit lane with Chris Stevens.
I'm joined in the pit lane by Rob Boston of Rob Boston Racing. Rob, Will's doing an incredible job out there in the lead of the race at the moment.
Yeah, he's done everything with
Yeah, a few issues with Chris's mic there. We'll hopefully be back with him shortly. We'll have another chat with Rob Boston in just a moment. There is the number 2 car, the Corton Seat, now being driven by James Ramsden. Ben Rushworth having driven it in the first half of the race before somehow he ended up, we think, in a gravel trap, possibly at Cascades, or maybe Shell Oil's corner. He's back out into the race. This is the dispute for 4th and 5th on the road at the moment. 15 is Phil Driver from British GT racer, and 27 is Will Beach.
I reckon, Ian, if Phil Driver can hang on to about third in the class, they should be able to overhaul that Rushworth and Ramsden car that's had the problems. in the second for the Class A Championship.
Okay, I'll keep an eye on that one. There's the race leader, which is about to hear from his team boss. Will Stacey goes through to start his 39th lap of the race with 3/4 of an hour or so left to go.
Yesterday, when it started raining, Will Stacey stopped testing. He thought there's no point carrying on, and it probably was the right decision, wasn't it? We're now a completely dry track, and just saving the car for those couple of sessions probably not the worst idea. Kevin Clark's gone even faster, 1:48.1, so he's now done the second fastest lap of the race. He's still about a second slower than Will Stacey went earlier, and he is now just 2.5 seconds behind Steve Cheetham, so it's not going to be long before Kevin Clark gains another place, and Ian Jones can't live with that pace in the BMW Compact. He's a couple of seconds slower, so he's dropped quite a long way behind. Meanwhile, Jonathan Packer goes through there, so he's still behind Scott Parkin. There's the Holden, that's I think very much on terms now for the Clubman Cup Championship.
Yes.
For the older cars.
Yes, I think cars have to be at least 10 years old, don't they, to be eligible for that category?
Yeah, don't have any sequential boxes either.
That's right.
The other
yes.
regulation. I'm not sure if all is well.
No, you say that. I think you've just done an Andy McEwen on them there and given them a kiss of death, because all of a sudden that car goes very slowly indeed.
I think they'll still be okay for the championship, but yeah, that's not gone well, has it?
No. So that's grinding to a halt now. Where is that? If it is going to grind to a halt, where's it going to stop? It doesn't look like it's going to get much further. It's just going to disappear behind the hillside there.
It's down Lakeside at the moment.
Yeah. Still just about keeping going.
Stacey's just done another fastest lap, a 46, so 1 minute 46.89. As the Holden stopped on the island circuit there. So that's, if it's going to stop, that probably is a sensible place.
Yeah. It's
as long as it doesn't roll back.
Yeah, it is doing. So Marshall just trotting over to have a word with the driver.
Is that our Class C leader in the pits? Wayne Cockrell, I think.
Yes, he's there. I think the other city could already been in. So we're getting that one now out into the race.
Yeah, saw him race Donington a few weeks ago in Truck Day Trophy and went quite well there. This probably a different beast of a championship to be in, but hopefully enjoying himself. There's our leader, Will Stacey, who's now 55 seconds ahead of Luke Handley, who's yet to stop. He's 1 minute and 7 ahead of Paul Curran. He's 1.5 minutes ahead of any other Class A car, which is about 3/4 more plus of a lap, isn't it? So that is absolutely going great guns for Will Stacey, the former Lotus Cup racer, and he's been doing ClubEnduro for the last couple of years. And he climbs up over Clay Hill for the 40th time in this race now.
Luke Brown's just into the pits to hand over to Father Paul. We saw on screen a moment ago the John Osborne car as well, which is 25th overall as things stand, but I think probably a couple of laps off the Class C lead, so it does rather feel as if the excitement of the battle for the overall championship was deflated somewhat. So with them being 2 laps down, they obviously need to win the class with fastest lap, and that's looking like a distant possibility now. There's the Browns car in the pit lane. Once again, number 22 today, Market last car, it was in early on. So it was with the confused, but it looks like we're having the driver change now.
Kevin Clark's got 7th in, he's got ahead of Steve Cheetham. He's now 9 seconds behind Chris Freeman, and Chris Freeman will be for 4th in the class.
How quickly is it closing as well?
Only the 5 seconds on the last lap.
Yeah, so give it a couple of laps and we'll be there. Maybe only 1 lap. What we want it to take.
Yeah, it's the next 2 to get on the podium where there's a bigger gap. If it wasn't for Kevin Clark's pace, Ian Jones would have looked impressive in the compact, because he's going 3 seconds quicker than Steve Cheetham and Chris Freeman as well. But because Kevin Clark, he's sort of stealing the headlines away in the M3 just ahead. There's Will Stacey. He's just lapped Julian McBride. He's been pretty much never present in ClubEnduro since it began.
That's right.
5 years ago now?
Yes, something like that, wasn't it?
Rushworth car's got a massive dent in the door, so whether that is related to what happened earlier. It looks like the G40's out, isn't it? That hasn't come through lately, so we're down to 30 cars, I think, now.
There's the Oulton Commodore, which looks like it's going to be left there on the Island hairpin section of the circuit, which is used by the British Touring Car Championship, of course. Will Ashmore seems like he's someone who's keeps getting he's left something in the car. Oh, I've left my phone. Oh, I've left my wallet. Oh, I've left my glasses. But I think he's got everything now. Now, did I turn the gas off? Did I lock the front door?
Because they've retired, they will get a drop score back, basically, won't they? Because that was one car that did have a drop score. So you know, the only car that can beat them that's left is Oswick, as there's a change on place.
Yeah, change of position on track. That's for 6th place. We heralded that. That was Kevin Clark getting up to 6th place down the 177 BMW ahead of the number 14 Seat Cupra of Chris Freeman. And so next target then is going to be a bit further up the road, half a minute up the road, in fact.
But that gap was over a minute. That was at minute 10, wasn't it, when it started? Yeah. So he's halved it in 25 minutes, I think, since 20 minutes since the safety car came in.
And last lap he was 4.5 seconds a lap faster as well. So it's going to take 7 or 8 laps, but we've got probably 21 or 22 laps maybe to go, something like that. Maybe more than that.
Yeah, the only thing he doesn't want is the safety car to come out and then they get a lap back or whatever from where the safety car comes out. That's the only way, I think, now Kevin Clark isn't getting second out of this. Now here he is. So Kevin Clark on his ClubEnduro Davy, just about to lap the Class C car. There, you can see how decisive he is in traffic, isn't he? He just sees the gap, doesn't sort of put the car in a dangerous position, but he's straight through. And
no, there's no hesitation, is there?
And that is, I think, the difference. I think other drivers can lap on a similar pace to him if there was no traffic, but the only person who's as quick on an average lap is Will Stacey. And on the last particular lap, actually, Kevin Clark was even 2.5 seconds faster than him, which just shows you how quick he is. So hopefully this might encourage him to come and do a full season next year.
Who knows? Who knows? It's certainly a car that seems very competitive in this championship. Lap times, best lap of the race is a 1:48.1. Best lap overall of the race has been a 1:46.89 for Will Stacey.
This race is probably proven what some people have been saying about the TCR cars wrong, isn't it? Because it's showing the TCR cars in this particular race, with the circumstances we've got, are by far from the quickest cars.
That's
because
right.
Will Stacey's drove away in the Elise, and now we've got Kevin Clark and Ian Jones crawling their way up the order, passing the TCR cars in their BMWs.
No, it's intriguing to see this, that's for certain. There's a lot to be said for the TCR cars there in terms of there's plenty of them around and they're very well built, generally quite reliable.
Although again today that's sort of gone against the concept, hasn't it?
It has.
But that's the first retirement that Bacon Swift, I think, have had that in that car in its whole career, basically.
Yes, you may be right. I'll need to check that, but
I think it's rarely been off the podium. It's rarely been off the top step.
Absolutely.
But not today.
So watching on screen, Kevin Clark, he's at Britain's once again, so he's working his 42nd lap of the race. Will Stacey's already been through to complete lap number 42. It's 37 minutes of the race left to go.
You've had another look at the Ramsden car. That is, the side of that car has been pretty well wrecked, which is. But what I was looking for, I wonder if Will Stacey's lapped everyone in Class A yet. Must be getting close to that. Up to second now is Paul Curran, who's 76 seconds behind. And now here's across the line, Dryborough. They're just behind them now is Stacey, isn't he? So Stacey's almost lapped the rest of Class A. He's not quite there yet.
But he's lapping sort of, well, what are we looking? 4 seconds a lap faster than him, isn't he? So he will pass them in the next couple of laps, I would think.
Yeah. But they're still battling. That's a long time battle between Phil Dryborough and Will Beach, a second in the class. So it's quite an important, although it might not be that by the time Kevin Clark captures him, of course.
True.
He's now only 20 seconds behind. He was 5.5 seconds faster on the last lap than Will Beach aboard his Seat. So what can Ian Jones do? He's 2 seconds behind Cheetham. he's ahead of Cheatham as they come through. So Ian Jones is now, so what's that in the class? Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, isn't it, in Class A? He's 13 seconds behind Chris Freeman, but a couple of seconds faster. Can he catch the Dryborough battle? He's 45 seconds behind, and on that lap was 2 seconds faster. Tight. It's possible, I think. I don't think it's out of the question that we might not have a TCR car on the class podium at all.
Yes,
but Ian Jones is going to have to work pretty hard, I think, in the compact. That's going to be a lot tougher job than what Kevin Clark's got.
Definitely. And 35 minutes left to go. There's an MX-5 into the pit lane. And that is the number 95 car, isn't it?
It's a penalty because that car was parked up at the top end of the pit lane.
Okay, that's James Merrills and Alexander Walker.
Well, he's just drove straight through the bits, so I don't know what that's all about.
No, okay.
Because I don't think there's any just drive-through penalties there on the list.
No, so possibly a miscommunication of in some way, shape or form.
So across the line comes Dryborough with a bit of a bigger gap this time over Beach in that Sayat battle. Perhaps we'll pick that up in a moment as they come into our shot we've got here. So next car through should be... Oh, the leader's in the pits. Will Stacey's in the pits, the leader of the race. So this is a very large drama. We questioned the reliability of this car, and it's smoking. It's doing a similar thing to what it did at Anglesey when the engine went.
It is Rob Boston straight over there, and I think he's saying, get that car in the garage.
So the Golf is going to lead this race, the Invitational car, isn't it? And all of a sudden the Class A battle for a win. We might well see a TCR car on the podium now. Unless they can fix this Lotus in the next... They can fix it in a couple of minutes. I don't know what the problem is, but...
rushing, aren't they? It seems like they know what they need to try and do. Whatever it is.
It looks serious.
It does look serious.
I'm not a mechanic. Rob Boston is much more qualified than me in that part, so I will trust Rob's instincts.
Well, he's not given up, has he? That's for certain. Getting the wheels off in the first instance, or the left rear wheel off. It's not exactly Formula One.
This is a proper endurance race, isn't it?
We've got brakes issue, possibly.
It's a proper endurance race, though, this, isn't it, Ian? Because we've got reliability, we've got quicker drivers fighting their way back through the order. And across the line now to take the lead, here it is. So Bruno Costa and Paul Curran on their ClubEnduro debut. Okay, it's an invitational class car, but it kind of fits into Class A in some ways. The Golf, absolutely, they'll be enjoying this as the leaders now of the race. But for the Class A lead, we haven't yet had Phil Dryborough through. But that's happening now, so Phil Dryborough comes through to take the lead of Class A, and that's going to give him a stronger possibility of taking this place in the championship. So they're just ahead of Will Beach. The gap is 1.1 seconds, but only now Kevin Clark comes through, so he's continuing to reel them in. And Kevin Clark is just over 10 seconds behind now, and he's 3 seconds faster. He's going to catch him in the next 3 laps or so. So let's see if we can see. We're not going to see the damage. Let's have a see what's going on in the pit lane here.
Yeah, we've got the work going on in the Rob Boston Racing pit garage here. They've got, I think it's just the left rear off, isn't it? That's where the attention is. I suspect is a brake issue, possibly. Something else going on under there as well. Was it just getting the wheel off to get access to the internals?
I don't think it's engine though, is it? Like we've had before.
Doesn't look like it.
So we suddenly got in a whole load of cars on the lead lap.
Yes.
About 9, I think. 9 cars on the lead lap, at least.
Yeah. It's down to Steve Cheatham in 9th place, all on the lead lap. Scott Parker in the first car that's a lap down now. That'll become 8, of course, when Stacey drops off the lead lap again. It's still showing there at the moment. But that's the leading car, number 26, going through. Bruno Costa, Paul Curran now at the wheel of that. So he's going to come through to complete lap number 45. So that will then be established as the leading lap. And they're lapping the 151s now. 148s in the first part of the race. In the early part of the race. And they are 11 seconds clear of Luke Handley, the Class B car, who of course has yet to make his stop. He's got 16 minutes or so left to do that. But he's still yet to make his mandatory stop, so I think it's going to be Scott Parkin that will be leading Class B after all of that is shaken out. Class C is now being led by Johnny Hayes in the BMW 318 Ti. from. In second place within that class, David Nolan now out in the Mazda MX-5, and third within that class is John Munro, which is interesting because that's the car that had the spin just as the safety car was coming out. So John Munro having taken over from Nick Duke in the EWP Racing Mazda MX-5, winning third within Class C.
Can Kevin Clark win the race? He's 42 seconds behind Paul Curran, and the last lap he was 2 seconds faster. It's going to be tough, isn't it? But
yeah.
Maybe not out of the question.
Not impossible at all. 31 minutes of the race left to go.
Well, from the entertainment of this race, a good job they did put under green flag conditions, otherwise I think Kevin Clark would have been well up the road by now.
He would have been, yeah, absolutely right.
So this, Capture Motorsport Golf, isn't it, this car? But not sure, has that done much racing in the hands of the team before?
No, I don't know, I'm not sure about that, but...
I think it's a new requirement that I read about. It looks slow out of Lodge, but I think that's just a bit of an illusion, because then it's pretty quick up across the line, isn't it?
Yes.
And a very quick lap time, actually, a 1:49.6. So if he does those lap times, there's no way that Kevin Clark's going to catch. It's the lap times through the traffic, isn't it? That's where Kevin Clark makes the time up.
Yeah, and there'll be more laps with traffic than not.
Jonathan Packer's nearly caught Scott Parkin again, hasn't he? For the Class B lead. Okay, he's got a penalty, but that gap's coming down.
Scott Parkin in the diesel Golf, you tell, making its way down towards Cascades.
Joe Williams isn't far behind, is he? Or is he a lap back? Well, perhaps he's a lap back in his Golf, isn't he?
Yeah.
But that's probably better than we've seen him go before.
Kevin Clark's just gone across the line again.
He's 5 seconds behind those Sayats. So perhaps that's something if we can pick up, because in the next lap he's going to catch them basically, isn't he? Because he's 4 seconds quicker on that lap.
Yeah, so he's catching the 15 and 27 sets of Drybrook and Beach.
There's a yellow at Shell Oils again. So I'm not sure what that's all about. There's our Class B leaders. It's hard to know where to look because we've got class battles all over the place at the moment. There's Luke Handy who leads Class B, but it's the 2 cars ahead of him who have pitted already, so they're basically leading the class battle at this stage. Scott Parkin in the diesel Golf ahead of the petrol Golf just behind him as they make their way through here. Knickerbrook.
Safety car. Yellow flags. Safety car is coming out.
So who have we lost this time?
So yes, you can consult the timer screen to see if we can work out who we lost. We think that's at Shell Oils again that the incident has happened. Safety car boards, yellow flags.
There's a lot happening up there.
I suppose there is, and I suspect this means that anyone that hadn't made their stop, by which I mean probably Luke Handley and maybe nobody else.
This could bring Luke Handley right back into that Class B equation.
Yes, it could do. It could do.
Well, the safety car's pretty much caught our leader. So this is really going to give Kevin Clark a chance to win this race.
Yes, it will. So there's, I think, just a couple of cars that it'll wave through.
And Ian Jones could become a real factor now as well, I think.
He could.
Was it this car? That's the Lotus Elise.
That's the car of Andrew Shepherd, isn't it, for the second part of the race? Rob Fenwick started it.
I've been told yesterday apparently he's an ex-quad bike racer, Andrew Shepherd, who's out in this car. That is now, obviously was stopped at Shell Oils, and now it's stopping again, I think. And Luke Handley into the pits, as we thought would happen.
Right, he's going to park next to Matthew Hampson and Andrew Schultz's car.
So this might be a very quick safety car period that doesn't actually slow the pack up so much, if that was the only problem.
If that was, then yes.
Matthew Hampson stayed to watch there, hasn't he? I think he's found a spectator to have a chat to. Made a new friend. It's a long way back, especially if you've never been down there and don't know where to go. I guess.
It's a fair old walk, but it's a lovely afternoon.
Yeah, but if you've not been a spectator before, you might not actually realise how to get back from there.
Yeah.
So he stayed out there to watch.
Hopefully his team are aware of his whereabouts. There's the safety car then. It's on at the moment, of course.
It's got the leader behind, so that was good. Good work.
Yes, then just a question of how good fresh does the pack get before we go green flag racing again for the final 20 minutes or so. But it's been a very interesting race, this. Lots of different curveballs thrown at us, but quite a few cars having reliability issues. You can see the 53 car that was in with a chance of the overall championship, just going through again. How's that faring at the moment? It's 24th now.
There's a potential battle for Class C lead as well, isn't there, between Johnny Hayes and the Daves in the Mazda?
Yeah, that's right.
So is Handley going to get back out in a position where he can battle for a class win? That's in Park and Packer.
Yeah, he's got a 3-minute 10-second stop to make. He's got a 10-second pit stop penalty.
Tom will do it, mate.
They've got a minute and a half left of that, I reckon.
Roughly, yes. Anyway, so there we go. Andrew Shepherd's now chatting to Matthew Hampson, comparing their top stories from the race so far.
So that elite was well up in the Clubman Cup, I think, in this race, so that's a shame for them. So Steve Cheetham leads that, I would suggest. We've had a different winner in every race of the Clubman Cup, and Steve Cheetham might be the first person to make it too.
Safety car lights look like they were out to me. The safety car is coming in. So again, another short-lived safety car period. Green flag waves, and the race gets back underway. Good restart there from Paul Curran then. And where's the next car in the race behind him? It's just coming through now over the line. And that is going to be Phil Drybrook. And how far behind is he? 9.16 seconds. And Kevin Clark is only about 3 seconds behind Will Beach.
And it's side by side here into Old Hall for 6th place. Ian Jones goes down the inside of Chris Freeman and goes through. So the compact make that 5th with Luke Handley in the pit. So it's 5th now for Ian Jones, 4th in the class. So he's going to be chasing those in front, who are now only 7 seconds ahead down. There's a Class C leader. Yep, by about 25 seconds. So Johnny Hayes has still got a bit of a gap in that, but it's all intrigue at the top of Class A. Something that we haven't been able to say that much over the coming years. Luke Handley about to go back out. I think he'd be down in 3rd in Class B, but we're looking at our Class C leader there. But it's see if we see what's going on with Kevin Clark. What was he? 2.5 seconds behind. There's Ian Jones, who gained that place in the compact.
Yeah.
He has this car that Martin Gadsby, he's the engineer, he's been developing it from a compact cup car, so this has not got much left, I don't think, of its original racing basis, but it's a very rapid machine.
Yeah, so green flags waving all around the circuit, of course, because it is the first lap back underway after the safety car period. And here is what we were hoping to see. That's the 177 car of Kevin Clark now, and he is right with the 27 car of Will Beach, and just a little bit up the road from them is Phil Driver. But we're going to get the change for 3rd place here into Lodge Corner. Kevin Clark in the BMW goes up the inside of Will Beach, and he takes 3rd place away.
Yeah, now we can see Phil Driver ahead, and he's chasing him down. He was 4 seconds behind at the start of the lap. He's now a second back. He's 10 seconds behind the leader of the race. He's lapping 3 seconds faster despite the traffic, and Paul Curran didn't have any traffic to deal with. They've got the Class B leaders just in front of them that they've got to lap. There's a very slow BMW, and Will Stacey's back out, but he's way down the order. He's outside the top 20. He's 5 laps behind. A great work by Rob Boston Racing to get that car back out. It's side by side for the class lead, and Kevin Clark goes down the inside into Island Bend, and he goes through, I think, yes, but there's still lots of traffic for him to deal with. But Kevin Clark has done it in 2 laps to get through to the front of Class A. He's got 10 seconds to catch for an overall win, which is the chase to the Volkswagen Golf of Paul Curran. But he's got to get past his Class B lead battle yet between Scott Parkin and Jonathan Packer. He's got in between them now, but it's quite the masterclass, this, isn't it, from Kevin Clark in this M3 through the traffic in. He's just making so much time on these competitors.
Yeah, that's right. So he is in absolutely searing form here. So Kevin Clark now leading Class A, 9 seconds as it was at the beginning of the lap, to make up on Paul Curran in the Volkswagen Golf. That's an invitation class car, but I'm sure Kevin here will have the outright win in his sights, with still more than 20 minutes of this race left to go, and with the lap times that he's been setting during the course of this last sort of 3/4 of an hour or so that he's been in the car. Turning his way up towards Lodge Corner, making short work of other traffic there. That's Paul Browse that he's getting past, and then the next guy that will pass is the Phil Nib Cupra.
Paul Curran's going quicker. That's a 49. That's more like it.
And Kevin Clark's into the pits. What is going on today? What is going on?
Penalty box?
Is it
up there?
Penalty box? It looks like it might be.
Stop-go penalty in.
Stop-go penalty. Now, what was that for? We've not been notified of anything. I will check to see if I've had
But as we've had some yellow flags, I wondered if that could be a thing. So the chase is still on for a class win. Can Ian Jones win this in the compact? He's only 5 seconds behind, and he's much quicker on the last lap than Driver and Beach ahead of him. So that's not out of the question yet. But this is a dramatic race, Ian. Oh, and he's off. Ian Jones is off, I think that is. Not sure if we can pick that car up. It looked like that was Ian Jones. Oh, he's going back on again. He's had a big excursion of some description down there at Cascades. I think that's the Ian Jones car rather than the Class C car.
I think you're right. I can't make sense of that Kevin Clark stop-go, because that's either a false start or a failure to respect starting position. Just a stop and go like that, and it's taken a long while to realise that if that was the case. So I'm not quite sure what that was all about, to be honest.
Nothing on your message text.
No.
So can he still win it? That's the question, or the class anyway. So it looks like Ian Jones has probably put himself out of contention.
I would think so, yeah.
So he's back behind Chris Freeman. Oh, and Clark's a bit slow there. Is there a problem with the car? No, I don't think so. No, he's pushing on, isn't he? Sideways. So Chris Freeman was about 10 seconds behind, so Clark's probably about 12 behind the class leaders. So I think this means Paul Curran's safe at the front, doesn't it, with 20 minutes to go in the Gulf for an overall win, which would, I think, be a first win for a Gulf in ClubEnduro. But for the Class A win, well, it's those two Sayers that have been battling for the whole second stint, just 0.8 of a second between Phil Dryborough and Will Beach. But let's go back down into the pit lane with Chris Stevens.
I'm joined in the pit lane by Rob Boston of Rob Boston Racing. Rob, Will was doing such an amazing job. In fact, we tried to come and grab you earlier to say what an amazing job he was doing, but just very quickly tell us what went wrong with the car.
Well, everything was going very right. You know, we ticked all the boxes, everything had gone really swimmingly. Will was doing a great job, pit stop had gone great. You know, we got over a 1 minute gap, and unfortunately he's lost drive halfway around the lap with a snap drive shaft. He's managed to limp it back to the pits, and we've done a very quick drive shaft change. You know, I think it took us less than, well, about 8 minutes to get it back out, but unfortunately, race is lost now. But I'm just so gutted. We really wanted to finish with a win this year. Really wanted to, you know, there's been tough competition, and we've sort of put everything together the best we could. So, yeah, bitterly disappointed, but yeah, that's racing.
It seems like at the moment, if you didn't have bad luck, you'd have no luck at all. But let's just focus on the job that Will did, especially in qualifying. It was a mammoth job. It was a very wet track as well, and led the race beautifully.
Yeah, credit to Will. He's done a fantastic job. Qualifying particularly, he weaved his way around a very damp track, finding the dry patches, and yeah, did a spectacular lap time against this competition. Yeah, that's all him. That's all on him. He did a great job, and he was doing everything he needed to do in the race there. So, yeah, really proud of him. I'm really sorry we couldn't bring it home for him. But
added motivation for next year?
Yeah, we've got plans. Basically, full strip back to the chassis and just from the ground up, going through all the potential reliability things that could stop us from winning next year. So, yeah, we're motivated and ready for next year.
All right, well, commiserations on this one, but thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Ian, let's go back up to you.
Thanks, Chris, and good to hear from Rob Boston about the issues that Will Stacey had when he was leading that race so comfortably. But it was a drive shaft issue that was the problem. That's now been changed very quickly indeed by the team, but as Rob says, the race has gone. For him, what's the race looking like here? At the moment, it is Paul Curran leading in the Invitation Class Golf TCR. Then it's Phil Driver second, about 19 seconds drift, but only about a second and a bit ahead of Will Beach, and they're being caught again, Josh, by Kevin Clark in the BMW M3 CSL.
Kevin Clark think, I need to make some entertainment again. That's why he came in the pits, do you reckon?
Well, we've not been advised of any official reason for it.
So he's 4 seconds quicker than the cars in front that we're watching at the moment, and he's only 8 seconds behind. So I think he's going to catch them again. So it's going to be like a action replay of 10 minutes ago. But it's Phil Dryborough then that leads. in the Colin Gillespie Sayat, but Will Beach has seen a lot of the back of that car because he's been behind him for about 3/4 of an hour, I think, but he's not been able to find a way past.
Just picking up on Class B, Luke Handley obviously had that later pit stop, didn't he? He's about 3/4 of a minute behind the two Class B leaders.
Packer's ahead now, isn't he?
Packer is ahead, but he needs to get 15 seconds ahead of Scott Parkin in order to win the class, because he's got that amount of track limits penalties. Also with the same amount of track limits penalties now, Fernand and Andrew Rather notice in 8th overall and 7th in Class A in the Cooper TCR.
Yeah, and Houghton and Fazier up to 4th, aren't they, after their problems earlier? So yeah, that Class B race that's had quite a few twists. Here come the Class A cars through Old Hall, and a PB from Kevin Clark is into the 47s. He's only 4 seconds behind this battle now. So with 15 minutes to go, it looks like it's still on, assuming that he did the right thing there. It was just a stop-go penalty.
Yeah.
If there was a penalty at all. So that battle goes through between Dryborough and Beach. And if we stay with this shot, we'll see Kevin Clark. There he is in the M3. And he is 4 seconds quicker than those two cars in front. He's only 4 seconds behind at the start of the lap. We've got a 1/4 of an hour to go. Will they try any harder to keep him at bay, or is it just not worth the effort because he's so much faster?
Yeah.
And Ian Jones is in the pits.
He is. Obviously had that big excursion at Cascades, and he went a long way off the circuit in the BMW Compact that was going pretty well, but he's now obviously out of contention.
A shout for Joel Oswick. He's done the lap record in Class C. As Packer's off, the Class B leader. Joel Oswick's done a 1:47.18, which is best part of a second under James Cowell's lap record. That's 2 or 3 seconds quicker than the other cars in the class today.
That's right, but of course the lap record all very well, but he needs his class win to go with it, and he's not going to get that because he is 4th within the class.
It showed you
within the class, actually.
Whatever that problem was, it didn't look like they really did anything in the pit lane particularly.
No.
Has cost them, because I think that actual pace would have been enough to bring the penalty and whatever time they lost back. How late is Kevin Clark on the brakes here? He does get through Lodge, but he was ridiculously late on the brakes in the cars ahead of him. So he hasn't quite underneath the rear wing of Will Beach now, but the top 3 in Class A are separated by just a couple of seconds after 54 laps of racing. Okay, someone bits behind the safety car. They've got more traffic to deal with, which takes its line. So Will Beach has to adjust his, and Kevin Clark slices up the inside. He's now with the Sayat for 2nd in the class, and he's alongside and is ahead. That took about half a corner from when he caught him.
Yes, it really did. Okay, so Kevin Clark in imperious form. He's got a feeling of deja vu here. He's done this once already. He's looking like he could be good, barring any more mystery pit stops for winning Class A. Certainly, the overall win probably a little bit beyond reach now, isn't it?
Yeah, because Paul Curran's pretty quick. He's quicker than anybody else, apart from Clark in the front runners here. So
it's about 2 seconds a lap faster, isn't he, Clark? But there's only going to be probably 7 or 8 laps left, and there's 20 odd seconds between them.
Yeah. He's got to get past Phil Driver first.
Yes, he does.
For the class win, or the class lead at this stage.
Yep, Phil Driver in the Cupra. Just ahead of them is Paul Browse in the BMW.
So is Phil Driver going to try and hold him back, or is Kevin Clark unstoppable?
He had a go. It was never going to last very long, was it? But Kevin Clark has gone through and taken the lead in Class A up Clay Hill. So 2nd overall now, Kevin Clark, once again in the 177 car.
But is he going to stay on the track this time? Last time he took the lead, he came straight into the pit lane.
Yeah, well, he's just got track position past Paul Browse as well. They're coming into Lodge Corner. For Kevin Clark, this is to complete lap number 55 of the race, or for that car, and this time he does stay out on the circuit. And 12 minutes left to go, so he's probably going to get another 7 laps out of this, you would think.
Yeah, he's 24 seconds behind Paul Curran, so that is unlikely.
I don't think this was the kind of result we were expecting at the start of this race, is it? We were probably thinking that we'd see Rob Baker and Carl Swift up there, or Will Stacey up there. I'm not sure we were predicting this. We also possibly thought we might see the championship win overall by the Class C drivers, Joel Oswick and Dan O'Connor. That's not going to happen either now. It is going to go the way of Carl Swift and Rob Bacon there, Area Motorsports South, for the 3rd year in a row.
Yeah, that's right. So in a bit of a weird way, I'm retiring after a couple of laps. Here's our leader then, Paul Curran. I can't find what his past experience has been, but presumably he's raced something before. And he's probably about as quick as Bruno Costa was in it. So this is quite an even pairing. So again, is this a possible look to join the championship next year? I don't think a Golf TCR is allowed in the regulations at the moment, but maybe some small adjustments for next year that will become more of a possibility. No official information about that, but we now and again see the Golfs out there.
ClubEnduro is obviously very popular, isn't it, across all of the classes? Not so much for a lot of the season for Class C, although more cars have come out this year, but I think ClubEnduro is going to feature as part of the foundation package being put together by 750 Motor Club again for next season.
Yes, and if you check out the website 750mc.co.uk, you can find out how to get involved. A full season for just £10,000 per person, so a 2-driver team in a Honda Civic. One of those cars have already been sold, and that is a very affordable way, I'd suggest, about getting into a full season of endurance racing in the UK.
Yeah, what class will that car slot into, Josh?
Class C, I think.
Class C. Oh, and that's a spin for Edward Christie in the number 481 BMW.
Kevin Clarke in is 2 seconds faster than the leader on the last lap. The gap's 22 seconds. Yeah, there's only about 6 laps left, isn't there? So
that's right.
That's not going to be a possibility.
There is the leader, and he's just coming up against a lot of traffic here now, so you'll be hoping not to fall over this.
Oh my goodness.
Now, that's the 92 car of Phil Nibbs. That's between Shell Oils and Britain's. We think there could be some fluid down. Obviously, Edward Christie's been off on that, so...
That's a weird place to spin as well.
It is an odd place to spin.
I guess you might start by putting the brakes on there for the chicane, but apart from that, you're not doing too much at that stage. There is Oswick. He's just gained a place here. He's got ahead of Wayne Cockrell, and he's nearly caught John Munro as well, I think. Is he just up the road? So
yes.
He's going to gain 2 places, but it's not quite going to be enough, I don't think.
Just needs a couple of retirements now as well, I think, up ahead. But the way this race has gone, he wouldn't rule that out. That's the race leader, though. He's gone through. He's got cleared that little gaggle of Class C cars. And now goes on to his 58th lap. Paul Curran, having taken over from Bruno Costa, who had that car in the first part of the race.
Yes, so we've got 4 laps left, probably 5 laps left, maybe.
5, I would think. Yeah 5 laps left, because it's about a 1 minute 50 lap time, isn't it? So yeah, should be 5 laps left.
Yeah, on that lap, Kevin Clarke didn't really catch anything, so overall win for an invitational class car, which I don't think has happened before. Looks like it's going to happen. I think our Class C leader just went through the shot there just ahead of our overall leader, so it looks like Johnny Hay should be able to hang on. He's 40 seconds ahead of the Daves in the Mazda, and then if John Oswick's ahead of John Munro, he'll be 3rd in Class C, but like Ian says, I think he's only 1 lap behind now. Yeah, he's only 1 lap behind, but that's obviously 1 lap too many.
Yep, that's right. There's the Sibiani and Hayes car being driven by Johnny Hayes at the moment in 16th position overall. That's the Class C leader, of course.
4th in Class B, it's fairly close. Joe Williams, who I think is having his best run of the season, is kind of keeping up with Steve Hewson, which I'd have thought he'd be quite pleased with that.
There's the James Ramsden number 2 car that was started by Ben Rushworth. That was off in the middle part of this race, being caught now by Kevin Clarke, who is still there in 2nd overall and set to win Class A here. About to come through to complete his 58th lap with about 6 3/4 minutes of the race left to go. And Clarke, is going to make fairly easy weather of of the Ramsden car into Oulton corner. He goes through,
Not so
runs
much.
wide, and lost it on the exit, but probably will get it back. Yeah, he does get it back by the time he gets Cascades. Nicely done.
He caught the leader by 3.9 seconds on the last lap.
Oh, that's interesting.
So the gap's under 18. But obviously he had that bit of a moment at Old Hall, really, didn't he?
That's right.
Both Oswick and Cockrell got past John Munro on that lap. So I think that's the third, fourth and fifth in Class C.
Yeah, and actually they've got quite a long way ahead of Munro, so I wonder if Munro had a little mistake there. It's certainly being lapped by Kevin Clark there.
He was only a second off his best lap. I don't think that car's quick enough to run with some of those other cars at the top of Class C, especially not the Oswick BMW.
Maybe you're right. It seemed like it lost quite a lot of time quite quickly, but that might just be how things are at the moment.
So Kevin Clark's already 16 seconds ahead of Phil Dryborough, who in turn has now pulled quite a long way clear of Will Beach.
That's right.
So the rest of the race, Beach has been very close. I think Steve Cheatham's probably having his best run of the year.
6th overall at the minute, isn't he?
Yeah, his best has been 8th, I think. So yeah, it looks like that could be the best seen out of the Porsche this season.
That's right. Class B, it looks like it's going to be decided with a corrected time, doesn't it? Because at the moment Jonathan Packer is only about a second clear of Scott Parker, but he's got this 15-second track limits penalty hanging over him.
Oh, whoa!
There's been a rather large accident down here, and that is Kevin Clark, I'm afraid, that's got into the pit wall and is off into the barriers, and that's I didn't see how that started.
There was contact halfway down the straight, possibly with the Class C leader. I can't confirm that.
But certainly was in the general vicinity at the time.
I'm glad to say everyone on the pit wall was okay, because the car did head in that direction at a rate.
So we've got double waved yellow flags at Old Hall corner. We've got the marshals just heading towards the scene now. We've got yellow flags, of course, on the start line as well. And it is obviously quite a serious incident that's gone on here, and now the red flags are indeed showing the road. So the race being brought to a premature conclusion with that rather large incident towards the end of the race there, involving the number 177 car of Kevin Clark, which was leading in Class A at the time. And that will mean that the race overall is won by Bruno Costa and Paul Curran. Second overall and winning Class A, therefore, will be the Colin Gillespie and Phil Dryborough car. Third overall and second in Class A will be Will Beach and Mark Rice. And fourth overall and third in Class A will be Chris Freeman. Scott Parkin will be the winner in Class B once those times have been corrected. From in second place Jonathan Packer, and third place within Class B will be Luke Handley in the Volkswagen Golf. Class C will be won by Paul Subiani and Johnny Hayes. Johnny Hayes, who was second into that car. Then it's David Connell and David Nolan, who will be second in Class C, and Joel Oswick and Dan Orsano third in Class C. The champions will be Carl Swift and Rob Baker, but obviously at the moment all thoughts with the incident down there at Old Hall Corner involving Kevin Clark, the car having hit the pit wall and then the barriers at Old Hall Corner after an incident in traffic with about 5 minutes of the race left to go. So the cars are being signalled off into Park Ferme, Josh.
It was a touch with the Class C leader, and Kevin Clark kind of had two wheels on the grass ball getting past about 3 cars in one go, so maybe that was... but anyway, the other car survived, so it was only Kevin Clark that was involved in that accident.
Yes.
But as you say, all thoughts with him, because that was... it was, especially from here, we actually saw it out the window. It was a very eventful incident.
Yes, it was. You could certainly feel the impact with the pit wall from our commentary position. It was pretty much right beneath our commentary box. And yes, a scary looking incident indeed for Kevin Clark. But the 750 Motor Club rescue crew there, there's the fire vehicle there. The medical car is there. The marshals beneath us are already clearing up the incident. They're brushing off the debris left after Kevin Clark's car hit the pit wall. They'll check for any damage to the barriers as well. But I think it was the concrete barrier that he made contact with, rather than the Armco, and that seems to have stood up to it.
And this is why we have catch fencing on the pit wall for people that question that sort of thing at the moment.
There's a lot of debris being set up as well by the marshals, and big chunks of it as well.
Obviously, there was a lot of people on the pit wall, but the catch fence did its job and kept any of that debris on the circuit where it's a safe place to be. So everybody on the pit wall was absolutely fine in that circumstance.
Yeah, so lots of work for the marshals to do here, and as ever they do a tremendous job, but also we can, from our commentary position, can see the work that the 750 Motor Club rescue crew are doing as well, and the medics as well. So we will await news of what's going on down there at Old Oulton, and we hope for the best. And we will, of course, just as soon as we can, move forward with the remainder of our programme, with 3 races left to come here at Oulton Park this afternoon. We've got the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup, the low cost and the Alphas, but let's have a look at the standings when the red flags came out. It will be a win for number 26, that was Bruno Costa and Paul Curran in the Volkswagen Golf TCR, no doubt about that. Second place though, because everyone will move up, because Kevin Clark, as the cause of the red flag, will not be included in the results. So second place will go the way of number 15, Colin Gillespie and Phil Driver. They will also win Class A in their Seat Leon TCR. In third place, it will be number 27, that's Will Beach and Mark Rice, another Leon TCR. And then in third place, Chris Freeman and the Leon TCR. So after all of that, it will be 3 TCR cars on the podium in Class A, after it looked for a while as if we might not have any TCR cars on the podium in Class A. 5th overall, that will go to number 43, Steve Cheetham in the Boxster. 6th overall will go to number 92, Phil Nebb and Andrew Rath. I think their penalty, I don't think we'll drop them back any positions. It will drop Jonathan Packer back places though. He will fall behind both Scott Parkin and Julian McBride, so he'll end up, I think, 9th overall. Will Jonathan Packer, and Scott Parkin it will be that will win in Class B. And I don't know if we can go on to the next page. There you can see Luke Handley, he's going to be 3rd in Class B, ahead of Steve Houston and Matt Fazy. So that was a good second stint for Steve Houston after that early stop for Matt Fazy after that incident with Steve Cheetham that Matt so graphically described for us. Joe Williams 5th within Class C. James Ramsden is another driver that I think has got a 15-second track limit penalty to add to his time. Johnny Hayes and Paul Subiani winning Class C in the BMW 318 Ti from David Connell and Dave Nolan in the Mazda MX-5, and Joel Oswick and Dan Orsano 3rd within Class C. It wasn't to be for Joel Oswick and Dan Orsano in the overall championship after their dramas in the middle part of that race. Further back down, you can see William Stacey did get back out there with that refitted or newly fitted drive shaft after some dramas when comfortably leading the race. But Will Stacey it was that eventually finished in 21st position. That will probably be 20th once its all classification is sorted. He does get the lap record though. And there you can see the remaining cars that we think made it to the checkered flag. 25 of them, I think, in the end, because we lost along the way. Martin Gasby, Matthew Tipping, Rob Fennick, Matthew Taylor, Graham Kelly, Matthew Tidmarsh, Paul Sherd, Matthew Hampson, David Gooding and Carl Swift from that race. And, of course, right at the end, I'm afraid, Kevin Clark as well. So quite a few non-finishers there. And quite a few drivers getting track limits penalties as well. So that's a sad way to end the 2022 Tagiwa ClubEnduro Championship season, with that heavy incident on the start and finish straight for Kevin Clark, with the car ending up at Old Hall Corner. And we will see what the outcome of that situation is. As I say, we should, as and when the circuit is clear, have 3 more races to go this afternoon for low costs. Sorry, for MX-5s next, then low costs, and then Alfa Romeos to round out the day. Not sure whether we'll be able to hear from anyone in Parc Ferme. We'll see if Chris is able to grab anyone. Obviously, not the way that race was expected to finish, but we'll see if we are able to grab some interviews before we move on to